Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse very special playoff preview show with my good friends Quis, Sports Vibes TV. He is alive. He's reappeared. He's back in action. And we got JD Sports Talk and KFTV in the house. We're going to talk Knicks. We're going to chop it up. We are hyped. At least I'm hyped. I'm so crazy hyped. So much shit going on in life. And yet this is the thing that's like right there taking most of my focus. And, honestly, it's hard to really think about much else, even though I have to. So I am enjoying this moment tremendously. Welcome, brothers. Welcome to the Knicks-Verse. What's happening? Welcome to playoffs again. We did this 4 years ago.
We did it against the Hawks.
Yeah, it was against the Hawks. Yeah,
we did 4 years ago already.
That was 4 years ago. Wow, isn't that crazy? Well, we thought we had no idea what to expect 4 years ago, and now look where we are, man.
Is it 3 out of 4 years now?
Yeah, 3 out of 4 years into playoffs. Last year we built on our first experience. We went to the second round. I looked at those Miami games again, and they were a lot closer than a lot of people gave us credit for. I mean, we were a Jalen Brunson turnover away from making this whole thing happen, going to game 7 last season. And this year, this is such a much better team this year than last season. I mean, this team is cooking. It's clicking. How are you guys feeling? Let's go with Quis since he's back in action. What's happening, Quis? How you feeling, man?
Not much. I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it. It has been a while, but had to show up and chop it up with you guys, especially heading into this playoff series we got against the 76ers. I'm pretty excited, to see what Jalen Brunson has been able to do this season. I mean, it's not something I imagined when we first signed him. We signed him. He was getting paid, $26 million. I thought, hey, if he comes in here and he gives us some solid starter minutes, that'd be, a contract well earned. And, after that first season, I was like, all right, this guy is, becoming that point guard us Knicks fans have always wanted. And then, in the offseason, there were reports from the front office, them stating, he's got another, level he can reach. And, I was hoping that would have been true. But to be honest, I was content with what we had. I just thought we needed another player to bring in to play alongside him and, we'd be good to go. But to see what he's been able to do this season, playing out of his mind and the adversity that we've gone through as a team, and to see him still be able to go out there night in and night out and, impose his will on other teams, you just got to be proud of both him and what he's been able to do, and also the teammates that have, been a solid supporting cast. You've got Dante DiVincenzo. He came over. A lot of people were wondering about that signing, whether or not he was going to be worth the $12 million that we paid him. And he's been, a lot better than I had anticipated. He's been that steady and force out there on the perimeter, can knock down a three and give Brunson, a sidekick sometimes, when, we didn't have Randall and we didn't have some of our other guys. And you look at other guys like iHeart, he's been able to step up. So I've just been thrilled with this team. I've just been sitting back, watching them do what they do out there and just been cheering.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Good to hear Keith say that, just because we've had all these talks about point guard position and that it's been such a weakness for this team. And I don't know that any of us saw Jalen Brunson coming in here and having this type of impact.
Nobody saw it. Not even his daddy saw it.
It's been unbelievable, this type of jump. And listen, I'm excited. I mean, I can't believe we are 24 hours away from game 1 at Madison Square Garden.
That's right.
You know what's the great feeling is? It's still, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it's still a little bit, me personally, it's like a little bit of a surreal feeling that we are the 2 seed. Like it's happened so late and so fast that I don't know that anyone or any Knicks fan has really been able to digest the fact or enjoy or understand that we're about to host the first round tomorrow as a 2 seed. Like, not only are we the home team to start a series, we're doing it as the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. Like, that to me is just amazing. Last year we were the 5th seed. We were in Cleveland in game 1, and even, you know, against the Hawks and in the past, like, because of how good we think this team is, that coupled with the fact that we're the 2 seed, it just has like a magical feel to it, and it adds to the anticipation. It adds to, you know, the countdown to tomorrow.
Excitement.
It adds to, you know, the tickets, everything. Like, everything is adding up to being a great Saturday night. It's on a Saturday on the weekend, so families, everyone can enjoy. It's a 6 p.m. game too. It's not like a
prime time.
It's not too late. It's not too early. Like, it's right there at a sweet time on a Saturday night. A lot of people are gonna be sipping, and
it's like a 6 p.m. start, so it's like prime Saturday. So it's before you even do your other shit at night. So
right,
perfect.
You got enough time to celebrate.
And I think, you know, last year, definitely the crowd at MSG for that Cleveland, I mean, it was deafening there for game 3. But I think this is going to go up a little bit of a notch higher again, because I think when you turn on to the game at 6 p.m. tomorrow, you as a fan are not only cheering for your team because they're there, you're going to be cheering for the team because you think they can advance. You're going to be cheering for this team because you think this team can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And once you get there, it's a toss-up. You just play the games and see what happens. So I think the belief of the fan base that this team has what it takes to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's only adding to the anticipation of tomorrow night.
Oh, beautifully said. I mean, I think it is going to be more intense than it was last year.
Yeah,
remember how shook Jared Allen? It's admitted that they all were.
Yeah,
crazy.
And let's be honest, guys. Like, you know, it is what it is. It's part of the matchups. Like, when you compare the Cavaliers to the Sixers, bigger, you know, market team, you know, a much more known fan base, and then the star matchup. I mean, Joel Embiid is Joel Embiid, and whether he's hurt or not, he's just going to grab ratings. He's going to grab attention, and people are going to be paying attention to him and Maxey versus, you know, Jalen Brunson and company. So the matchup itself is a very nice matchup. It's a team in your division. It is a rivalry, at least between the cities. It's definitely a rivalry.
Totally a rivalry.
All around sports, Philadelphia and New York. So, I mean, it's a great matchup, and you get it in the first round. And so let's get it going.
NBA couldn't be happier with this matchup. It's primo. If it would have been Knicks Pacers, I guess that also would have been interesting in terms of history, but I don't think in terms of like the fan base intensity. You know, going up against the Sixers, going up against Embiid, you know, all that history with the process. Remember the process? And meanwhile, we were like, you know, eating shit, playing like terrible, and had no direction during that period. And we were like sitting there thinking, damn, should we be doing what Sixers are doing? Meanwhile, we're the 2 seed. We've advanced further in these playoffs recently, and we're looking poised to send the Sixers home early. But it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot to do it. In some ways, you know, it's interesting. This word "easy" has popped up. Paul Reed has used it. Draymond has, like, you know, chimed in on it. You've been tweeting about it. It's exploding. It's out there, and I think it's only going to fuel the Knicks even further. Those Nova Knicks, oh, they're taking it seriously. What did Josh Hart say? His response? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he said, I don't care at all. He's like,
he didn't say I don't care. He said that. That was the second sentence. First one was, I don't give a, you know what?
Yeah.
I don't give a. He said, I don't give a F.
All right.
He said,
hey, shout out to the chat. Shout out to the chat. We got a nice group coming in. Come on into the house. We got G-Man 78. We got the 50th Burger LGK. We got Mamba 237. We got Lexa Destroyer in the house. Best mod around. Angela Patrick, John Robert. It's going to be great. Knicks 100 AGM. What's up?
Salute.
So
else we
is this
got?
the most excited you've been in as a Knicks fan for a series in a long time?
You know what? It's a great question. I think I was more excited that 4 years ago. I think that felt
Really?
surreal. Yeah, because there was no precursor. Julius Randle. He wasn't what he became back then. That was the breakout season. So it was stunning, and to do it with a 2-year guard as RJ on the court, and then no point guard really, Elfrid Payton. It was just so crazy and mind-boggling that they were able to go that far. I think because it was so new and fresh. It'd been about 9 years since we'd been in the playoffs at the time, maybe 8 years. So but this, I'm hyped. There, I was super hyped back then because of how fresh and new it was. But I think now I'm hyped in a different way. I really feel like this team has the potential to meet the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. I really feel like that is a very real possibility. Very real.
And I think when you look at the guy's comment says, KD, I haven't felt this way since the 90s because there's no MJ. I think for me now is the most excited I've been in a long time not because of that specific comment, but more because of the roster. Like you mentioned, for me,
and we're young. We're young too.
Right. The roster gives me hope and confidence that, we can go far this year. And I think that belief is what gives me more excitement, because you're not only watching because, like you mentioned with 4 years ago, that was such a shocker to me, but I still looked at the roster, like you mentioned, no point guard, Reggie Bullock, all these guys. I knew okay, this is going to end early. So it was excitement, but it was also a dose of reality. With this team right now, listen, until they knock us out, I have belief that we can go all the way. That's the thinking that you have, is until I see a team when OG Anunoby's 20-3, until I see a team beat us 4 times, I'm going to have belief in this team. What do you think, Quis?
Quis, did you freeze, Quis?
Yeah, he definitely did.
He froze. Or he's thinking.
Okay.
Oh.
He's back.
Nah, you guys froze up on me. Last thing I heard was KD saying OG.
I thought you was mesmerized.
Maybe we all froze.
I thought you was mesmerized by.
So what did I miss? The last thing I heard was you saying OG and Anunoby 20-3.
Right. I saying since we're 23 with OG, until a team beats us 4 times, in this team is the most excited I've been in for a long time. So I was just saying, what do you think?
I'll probably fall in line with George. I mean, that was also the first time started putting out content. It was unexpected. Nobody expected Julius Randle to come in and play out of his mind. And we were going into a matchup where I felt like we, matched up well against them. And I'm not saying that we don't match up well against the 76ers, but with the way Julius Randle was going in, I felt like they didn't have an answer for him. And, they proved me wrong. So that's why that loss was so depressing. I mean, after that first round, I mean, we were all on the live stream sipping, having our fun, thinking this was going to be a cakewalk, and they turned around and sent us home with a gentleman's sweep. So that was the hypest I was. I think I'm still hyped, for this 76ers matchup, but I think it's almost like a maturing of that emotion to the point where I feel like now, all right, we're ready. Time to put our big boy pants on and let's get this shit done.
Expectations.
Yeah, now the expectations are much higher. So I see what you mean. Like you're JD, sounds like you're juiced about that more. Like the shock of 2020, 21. It was literally like a jolt. This is really different. There are great expectations. I mean, we're putting them on them. We've been watching this team, for 4 years straight, nonstop, and this is by far the best roster, like you said, we've had, and they're playing the right way to play now. Those bullshit long mid-range shots are out. The plotting, the dribble. The only one that does dribble is Jalen Brunson, and it's because he's gonna fuck that other team. he's just there. He's
not literally.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, he's home. I mean, it's gonna happen. I mean, he's just there to cook them. And the beautiful thing is, he's it's basically it's Villanova, where it's Philly, where he won two championships before. So it's going to be amazing to watch this. We're going to break it down. We're going to get into the matchups, who we think are X factors, what's it going to take, who actually, of course the three of us think the Knicks have a legitimate chance to win this series and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And honestly, if you want to just adopt the attitude that JD's adopted, it's totally legit. Until someone beats us, we are the team to beat. It's a great mentality. Somehow this team lost its entire starting line. And then at one point, they kind of like recovered with iHeart over Mitch, and he's been amazing. He's leveled up. And then we do this trade for OG, and we become, the best team, in the NBA, except for the Cavs, which was crazy that they went on their run. But it seems like that was kind of an illusion, because then our guys go down, and the team, I thought we were going to slide into seventh. Remember we talked about this. Oh man, we could be eighth
for a second.
Yeah, we could be eighth. Here we are, the second seed. So this talk that, here, you know what? I'm just going to play it in case you guys haven't seen it. I'm going to play you this clip. Paul Reed was asked on FanDuel TV, what he thought about the matchup between the Celtics and the Knicks, the Sixers and the Celtics, or Sixers and the Knicks. And this is what he said. In case you haven't heard it, here he is.
Nah, man. I mean, I feel like we ain't ducking no smoke, but yeah, we wanted the Knicks matchup. Of course, that's the easier team, I guess. But, it's going to be fun. We match up pretty well with them. They got a great guard. We got a great guard. We also got Joel, MVP. So, like you said earlier, he's one of the most unstoppable guys in the league right now. So they're going to have to send triple teams, and he's going to get everybody else involved, I'm sure of it.
So there he is. Those were the actual words out of his mouth. I actually hadn't heard that until today. I just read it, and I retweeted. Really? I retweeted it myself. I'd only read it. I hadn't seen the actual clip. You can see he looks a little sheepish, a little embarrassed to say it, but
Did you notice after he said it, he kind of like tried to catch himself. You look at his facial movement. It's like he said, "Oh,
yeah.
I think I said something I wasn't supposed to. Let me add more context to it." Because I think he got caught up. So a lot of sometimes,
and then he didn't clear it up. he doubled down on it, which is interesting. But yeah, he was definitely he caught himself. He tried to catch himself. Man, had you heard that one, Quis?
First time hearing it. I read it like you said on Twitter, but I didn't hear it until just now.
Well, it didn't end there, because then when was this? Was this today, JD, or yesterday?
This was last night.
Last night. So then last night, Draymond Green, who I'm sure is booking his trip to Cancun right now because he screwed his own team, the Warriors, by acting like a maniac this season. He got suspended for 20 games. The Warriors wouldn't even be in the play-in if he had been like a normal human being, or even halfway normal, instead of choking somebody, kicking people, all this stuff. He cost his team a playoff run. But he got on last night and he talked about Paul Reed.
As Paul Reed said, we ain't ducking nobody, but we wanted the New York Knicks. We think that's an easier team to beat. Paul Reed said it, I ain't say it, but the reality is we know the reality. The New York Knicks are way easier to beat than the Boston Celtics. In fact, I got the Philadelphia 76ers beating the New York Knicks. Because who gonna stop Joel? And like Joel took over every play down the stretch versus the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, in which we know probably will beat the Knicks too. But that's neither here nor there. Philadelphia 76ers will now take on the New York Knicks. And I got Philly for sure. Nobody's stopping Joel.
Well, I hope Dre puts a lot of money on it.
Put your money where your mouth is. Fast.
Yeah, I hope exactly. Well, what are your thoughts and feelings about Draymond chiming in on that, Quis?
Me, I took more offense with Draymond. That feels more like Knicks for clicks, and then Draymond throwing his little flair on top of it, to make it entertaining. I mean, if you want to say the Celtics are a more talented team than us, and that's why they're a more favorable matchup. That's a reasonable analysis, whatever the case may be. But what people aren't, I don't think people are remembering is that this team outworks the other team for a full 48 minutes, and we're even going to do the extra 5 if it takes, if we have to go to OT. And I think, be careful what you wish for, because this team, they're going to be physical. Do we have a singular force that might stop Embiid and take him out the game completely? No, but I think it'll take a team effort. And I think with Tom Thibodeau, we have the defensive scheme, and we have guys like Ihart. We have Mitchell Robinson, who's back and healthy, who still has to get into the flow of things. But we have a lot of options to kind of throw at Embiid to at least make his life difficult. Also, you have to remember Embiid, he's fresh off of an injury himself. So, that's something that works in our favor as well. And we have our new addition in OG. If we have a player that gets into foul trouble, we have Precious off the bench. And then we even have Jericho Sims if Tib is in a bad spot and needs to throw somebody out there, to make life a little bit difficult, or at least get physical with Joel Embiid. So it's not going to be easy. I don't want to sit here and act like it'll be easy, but I think the Knicks are in a unique position where we have the depth to kind of throw as many looks at Embiid to try to make life as difficult as possible.
Yeah, it's true. We have a lot of weapons to go at him, to combat him. And I'll tell you one thing, when I listened, I agree with you. The Draymond clip bothers me a lot more than the Paul one. The Paul one, whatever. They asked him a question. He answered it honestly. Even if you feel that way, in life, sometimes you got to like self-edit. And he didn't. And then, like, as JD pointed out, he seemed like, oh no, he tried to take it back. But like, interesting thing, what Draymond was saying, like how Joel took over that game at the end. I don't know what game he was watching. I mean, he could not do much. Did he make some great passes finally? Yeah, because the guy couldn't move. He couldn't get past the defender, and he had to become a distributor. And that's that's the brilliance of his game. He's able to do that. But to think that team could barely beat a Miami Heat team where Jimmy was obviously hobbled, limping around there, and Tyler Hero couldn't make a bucket for the first 3.5 quarters. And he got a little hot in that second part of that fourth quarter. There was no one else contributing on that Heat team. Bam was irrelevant. And Jimmy still put up numbers, but you could see he wasn't himself. He couldn't be the playoff Jimmy. So what was he watching? These were two, like, really bruised, beat up teams trying to like punch back at each other, and one of them just ended up winning at the end. How is that going to compare against this Knicks team that just never gives up, even when they're down 20-something points? They never give up. We have an actual closer, though we've heard there are some clutch stats that are a little alarming. But unbelievable closer in Jalen Brunson, just unstoppable. When we need a bucket, he'll get it for us. And we also have some pretty outstanding 3-point shooting with Dante out there. So I don't really understand this viewpoint that he had. So that's the thing that bothers me the most, man. JD.
Always have these interesting perspectives, as we've talked personally, George, with certain points. And with this one, I have another one as well. The Paul Reed doesn't bother me, but I do think it's a little more than how he expressed it. In other words, the way he expressed it, very low tone. He's not, making much facial expressions. So you might look at it and say, oh, that's nothing. It's all right. He's saying the truth and all that. However, Draymond Green said it with so much energy, and he said, I quote, everyone else knows that. Draymond Green feels compelled, or he feels more freedom to say that the way he said it, because he has nothing to do with the series. He's not playing in the series. He's not a Knick, nor is he a Philadelphia 76er. So Paul Reed could be saying what everyone else in that locker room also thinks.
Mhm.
He's just the one that said it publicly, right? So what does that say to me if I'm a New York Knicks player? Oh, okay, so Joel Embiid, that's what you think, right? Tyrese Maxey, that's how you feel, right? Nick Nurse, that's how you guys feel. Okay, so if I was a Knicks player, I'm taking this as extra motivation, not because of Paul Reed, but because the way that I am, they used to talk about how Jordan had these different creative ways of finding ways to motivate himself. This is how I would use it. Oh, Paul Reed basically spoke for all of you guys. So all of you guys feel that way. This wasn't just him. Okay, we'll see. We'll see on Saturday. If that's how you guys feel, if you guys feel we're so easy, we're such an easy matchup. I mean, the other thing is, we got to look at it is, if we are here and we believe that the New York Knicks are the biggest threat to the Celtics for what's left of the Eastern Conference, then how can someone tell me that we're such an easier matchup? Why? Why when the Knicks are 20-3 with OG? Why when the Knicks are basically the best defense in the league right now? So, yes, there's truth to the fact that right now the Boston Celtics are the favorite. There's truth to the fact that the Celtics look to be a better team today.
There's no denying the Celtics are a better team, have been a better team this season. But the Knicks have evolved so much throughout the season. That's what you have to look at.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not the fact that, oh, you quote unquote said the truth, but it's also the way you think about the truth. Because the truth can be different ways. Like, listen, okay, this team is a tougher matchup, but man, we got a tough matchup in front of us too. Like, this is the better team, but to say the Knicks are a way easier matchup as if you're just so happy to play the Knicks, I'm taking that personal.
Absolutely. The other thing that bothered me too, because Draymond, he even threw Miami Heat in there. It's like the Heat.
That goes with what I'm saying.
Heat aren't even going to make it to the playoffs. And he's like, oh, they could beat the Knicks.
That's what I'm saying. He picked a team that got eliminated in the play-in, a team that was the 8th seed. And he said, hey, you know what? They could have beat them too. I mean,
that was insane.
That's crazy.
Oh, man. Well, let's get to this. So this was I love this cover. I guess it's the back cover, the New York Post. So Jalen versus Goliath. Beautiful. Can 6'2" Brunson and his Knicks slay NBA Colossus 7-foot Embiid? What will it take for the Knicks to send Sixers home on an early vacation? So we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about who are our key matchups and stuff. But in general, what do you think the Knicks need to do? Like, what is the thing the Knicks absolutely must do to give themselves a chance to win this series? Going to go with Quis first.
Well, step number one, you're going to have to contain Maxey. I know Embiid, he's compromised. And I already mentioned the options we have to throw at him. But, you have to take out Tyrese if you really want to put yourself in the best position to advance. And you look at a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, I'm expecting him to be matched up against Maxey a lot. Based off of NBA.com, Maxey was shooting 33% when he was guarded by Dante DiVincenzo. So that's going to be a matchup I'm going to keep my eye on. And, I don't know, are we getting into the X factors now? Or you want to?
Yeah, how? Okay, let's talk about
because
how
Dante
do you
would also be my X factor as well.
Okay, all right. Well, let's talk first about because you brought up Maxey, because obviously Embiid is I think I thought JD froze for a second. JD didn't blink for
deep in thought.
He didn't blink for a minute.
He went into the Matrix.
Yeah. What's the key to stopping Maxey? How would you approach that?
Well, first, you're gonna have to try and deny. Try and force somebody else to keep the ball in their hand to make plays. And once you do end up once Maxey does end up getting the ball, whoever is in front of him is going to have to be solid at the point of attack. And I don't want to get into a situation where we have to throw, doubles at a guy like Maxey or anything crazy like that. So it's going to be on the individual matchup to try and win. And instead of, going crazy and trying to throw doubles, we also have OG. So if Dante is starting to, have some issues trying to contain him, you have a versatile defender like OG that you have in your back pocket that you can also deploy if things are starting to get a little shaky with DDV on them.
And you would start Dante on Maxey
initially.
Okay. And if things don't go too well, then you're pivoting with OG. Who are you starting OG on?
Probably Tobias.
Okay. Yeah, Tobias. If you take him out of a game early and frustrate him, he starts getting
check out.
Yeah, he almost checks out. So that would be a good strategy there. I do think if Maxey, the key to Maxey is not let him hit those first couple of shots. Once he starts feeling that groove, yeah, man, he's just becomes a flamethrower. So the minute you start thinking maybe he hits one, maybe he hits the second one. If I were Thibs, I'd immediately would switch it up and either put OG on him or bring in Deuce early. Bring in Deuce early and let Deuce expend his energy trying to harass Maxey the entire court. Bring him up in the back, pick him up in the back court, slow them down. Give them less time to run their offense to get into that pick and roll. To me, and if Brunson can do it, great. But he's shown that he has struggled at times. He's struggled, defensively. He's definitely gotten better. Give him his props for that. But definitely slowing Maxey down and not letting him feel comfortable. None of the Knicks should let any of the Sixers feel comfortable on that court. That's the primary focus of what the defensive strategy that Thibs should be throwing out there. And I have a feeling he will, because that is his approach. Don't let anyone get comfortable. I know in the past he's let guys who aren't necessarily good 3-point shooters let them have a little too much space, but I don't think he's going to adopt that strategy in the playoffs. I think he's going to be focused on that. JD, what are your thoughts on Maxey?
My thoughts on Maxey is he has, listen, I know he's a young guy, and I believe he's 23 because his birthday's in November. He'll be 24th in November. And this is his first, real experience as the other go-to guy. And so he, is not being talked about a lot, but he has a lot of pressure because although he's young and he's going to have that, that period that we give to young players, but he doesn't have much time in terms of with Joel Embiid because Joel Embiid is already 30, right? And who knows what his future is if his team goes out in the first round. Next thing you know, Maxey's leading a franchise, a rebuild by himself, right? So he has a lot of pressure as a 23-year-old to deliver as the other quote-unquote star of their team. So there's a psychological factor there that the Knicks need to tap into with some physical play, frustrate him. You talked about George, not letting him have a fast start. Then, if he doesn't have a fast start, now you're mentally thinking about these pressures. Now you're in a high leverage environment. You're in a hostile environment at Madison Square Garden. Now you have an off night, got pressure for game 2. Like things start to build. And that's why the playoffs is such a mental part of the game. When you have some of these skilled rotation players and they, the playoffs come and you're wondering like, what happened to this player? Like, how come this player's all of a sudden, this guy can't hit a shot? You think this is a lack of skill? When they were doing it for the regular season and now in the playoffs, they don't show up. It's not a lack of skill. Obviously, it's the mental part of the game. The moment sometimes dominates you psychologically. So Maxey has that to overcome. Now, I would start Dante only to keep OG out of foul trouble. If there's one little small, the tiny nitpick on not even a nitpick because it's not his fault. OG is not the most comfortable versus very, very ultra quick point guards. And you could understand why. The guy is 6'7", 230 pounds. I mean, the last guy I saw with shoulders like that was Ron Artest, at his position. So
he has a similar size too.
Right. He has very similar build to Ron Artest. So, do you put OG in a more of a safety role where he's reaching a lot, he's closing on lanes and stuff like that, use him on Tobias Harris? I would start Dante on him. The only thing I'll say is when I looked at film, Dante was Tyrese Maxey's easiest matchup in terms of getting to the rim. He had the most success getting to the rim with ease with Dante than he did with Deuce McBride or than he did with OG Anunoby. Even on times that he got a little bit ahead of OG Anunoby on drives, on picks, OG's length still allowed him to recover and catch up to him and play good defense. So that's something that I'll look to. You start Dante on him, but if he starts to get going, then you definitely are going to have to make an adjustment there. I wouldn't go the double team route as well. I would just try OG on him and see if he can slow him down.
Yeah, the double team route would cause a lot of problems in the beginning because someone's going to end up open and they're going to get a comfortable shot. So, but one thing I definitely would try to get, I would definitely. The thing about Dante is, like you were saying, he allows Maxey to get to the rim, and then that helps Maxey become a little more comfortable, start getting out of his head, and then when he's out there, he'll take that 29-footer, boom, he'll bury that, and then he'll start feeling, getting that buzz, and then we're in trouble.
So you put OG on him. That's what Miami did with Butler. They like Spoelstra from the tip off. He did not play. He says, I'm not putting Tyler Hero on him. I'm not putting anyone else on Maxey. I'm putting Jimmy Butler from the get-go, and then obviously you saw Spo go into zones, which is not typically what Tibbs does. But maybe you with that point, George, maybe you just start OG on him from the tip-off. That's the first thing I think I'm going to look to. One of the most interesting things that Tibbs.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if the first couple of possessions OG's on him. And they'll try to switch. Here's the other thing. The beauty of forcing OG on him right away, putting OG on him right away, is that gets them into a pick and roll to try to get the switch. So they're wasting that time. And those are precious seconds. And then the ball, if he can't do it, the ball's going to end up in Joel's hands. And then that's where the game is really that's where the matchup that's going to decide this game is going to happen. Isaiah Hartenstein out there with Joel Embiid. And I think, my opinion, and it is my opinion, and I heard someone else say it on another podcast, but I 100% agree with him. I do not want Joel taking 3-point shots. He's been burying them, but he looks so slow and hobbled. I would rush at him, force him to put the ball on the floor and try to dribble, try to get to the hoop. Number one, it's going to exhaust him over time. Number two, he just doesn't have it. So it's going to force him to make a play to find somebody else. And I'd rather somebody else be trying to make a play with 7 seconds, 6 seconds, 5 seconds left in the shot clock than Joel Embiid. Keep him off the block. Keep him off the block. 100% have to keep him off the block. Because once he's down there, he's already gathered his energy. He's ready. He times his moves, does his little shoulder, but when he puts his shot up, a little fadeaway, he's more comfortable that way. But to have him have to take 2 or 3 steps towards the hoop, dribble, that's going to be the key to us winning. I think that Miami couldn't do that to him, and then they actually allowed him to take a couple of 3-point shots, and he hit a couple of key ones, and that's really what helped them overcome the Heat in that game. And then we got Mitch. Mitch is a whole other animal. I think Mitch is going to also have to close out hard on Embiid. He doesn't generally like doing that. And, Mitch is also trying to get himself back into conditioning. So that's going to be an interesting challenge. That's how I feel it. And then we got Precious. Yeah, that's the other thing. Precious could that's another thing that we'll talk about. Because I think the Knicks should, even though we're like the slowest paced team in the NBA, we actually, when we're out on the break, we're tough. Like Hart is a great finisher. Precious is great out on the break. OG, we've seen him do it, and obviously we know Brunson and now Dante's become a good finisher out on the break. I think we got to get out on the break as fast as possible, push the ball up quick as possible, get behind the Philadelphia defense, and that's going to get them. I mean, it's going to exhaust them too, because the whole team didn't look that. They all looked kind of tired in general, along with Embiid. But that's my thinking about like Embiid, the key matchup between Isaiah and Embiid. What are you guys' thoughts on that? We'll go with Quis first.
You said Embiid versus who?
Well, I heart. Just how do we stop Embiid? Like, what
Embiid
we
versus
do?
everybody.
Yeah, Embiid versus everybody.
Well, like I mentioned, if you don't want him shooting threes, you want him to put the ball on the floor. You've got a guy like Precious, who's athletic enough to chase him out there, and also physical enough to battle against him if he does get in bad positions, down on the block. And Jericho Sims, another one of those guys who's athletic enough to chase Embiid off the 3-point line. It's just going to be whether or not a guy like Tom Thibodeau is going to, trust Jericho. Knowing him, he's probably not going to go too far down into his bench. But, it's always good to have those options and to game plan, if case you have to do that. And you have, our primary defender on him is going to be iHeart. And I think iHeart has shown over his last couple years with the Knicks that he's a much better defender than we had originally thought. And I think he'll be extremely physical with Embiid. He's a guy that, has worked on, not getting caught up and committing too many fouls so he can stay out there. And I think he's probably going to be the best option we're going to have initially. Mitch is my guy. I'm a big Mitch fan, but it's still, early in his process to try to get his legs under him. So, what I want to see him out there, just be physical and, make that effort to at least try to force Embiid to be uncomfortable and either get the ball up.
I left out one other key thing right before. Sorry, JD, because you could. Then another key thing is, yes, close out hard, be physical with Joel, but do not foul him. Do not make him earn it. You foul him, you bail him out, and that's another reason why Miami lost. They kept fouling stupid fouls with like 1.2 seconds left in the shot clock. He's struggling, and then they foul him. Don't foul him. And now he's great at doing, forcing guys to foul him. But that's one of the things that iHeart and Mitch and Precious and OG, whoever it is on him, is going to have to focus 100%. Do not foul this guy. Do not just keep sending him to the free throw line and picking up points that way, easy buckets, and he can just kind of rest. No, keep the game constantly moving. The less breaks in the action, the better for us. JD.
I think part of the game plan to stop him is going to be also making him work on defense. And that's why, to me, Isaiah Hartenstein, who has already started I had tweeted that he took a page out of the Phil Jackson handbook in terms of his press conference, where he talked about how Joel Embiid is going to get easy fouls. He's going to seek fouls. He's going to, so he's already throwing it out there for people to see, like, hey, we're going to try our best, but this guy gets these easy calls, and I'm hoping that, refs see it and they realize it's playoff time. Don't give him all those easy calls. So let's see how the refereeing plays a factor, because it is the playoffs. So you would think, some of those calls he may not get. He may not get it because he's limited. I mean, let's see how he looks tomorrow. But Isaiah Hartenstein, to me, is an X factor in this series. And it connects with this matchup because I think you're going to start to see him play more minutes. He had talked about, Tom Thibodeau said that now he's not on the minutes restriction. The whole ramp up game plan was to build him up to this point. And although we do have Mitchell Robinson for a matchup, especially with the Sixers, although Mitch has had a decent, defensive history against Joel Embiid in terms of, coupled with the competition, Mitch has done decently against Joel. iHeart is going to make him work defensively. iHeart is an X factor to me because in the paint with the floater, now we're going to see that development of his floater. Joel Embiid is not interested at this moment to contest shots off the pick and roll. He's not being aggressive. He's not hedging. He's actually, backing down, and he's not even attempting to contest outside shots. And so I think a way to take advantage of that is to put him in pick and rolls with Jalen Brunson. And then he's going to have to make a decision, because if Jalen Brunson attacks his space, either you're going to come up to Jalen, which he's not doing right now. So Jalen may be able to get open mid-range shots or floaters, because that's what he likes to do as well. Or you're going to be able to use that weapon from Isaiah in the restricted area in terms of his left-handed floater. So, don't be surprised if Isaiah Hartenstein is averaging, anywhere from 12 to 14, 15 points in this series, just because he's going to get those opportunities in the paint. And if he gets those minutes, he'll be able to take advantage of that, because sometimes it's not only about, stopping the guy defensively. It's also about, because stopping the guy is also neutralizing him. And if he's going to score all these points, how do we counter on the other side of the floor? And we have a center in Isaiah that's going to be able to make him think between him and Brunson. And I think that right there, that combo, that duo, and that game plan could propel the Knicks to cause issues on the Sixers, and therefore can give them the advantage in the series.
iHeart is the key. We're so lucky. iHeart. When we lost Mitch, I mean, if we didn't have iHeart playing this level, I mean, he's been one of the 5 best defenders, according to DPM, since Mitch went down. Unbelievable. And he still picked up the slack on offensive rebounding. Mitch was leading the NBA in offensive rebounding when he went down. Isaiah stepped right in. I think he's like 5th or 6th in the NBA. So it's like we haven't missed a beat.
And it's funny, I said that, and I'm just looking now. I didn't even realize. I just looked now at the box score, the game that we smoked them in January, and Isaiah Hartenstein played 35 minutes and had 17 points. So when I say don't be surprised if he averages anywhere from 12 to 15, well, he had 17 in 35 minutes. He was 8 of 9 from the field. And remember, if you remember that game, 8 of 9 for the field, a bunch of those were floaters. And Joel Embiid, who played in that game, he had trouble figuring out Brunson and Hartenstein. And that's when he was healthy back then, because he was moving very well.
Yeah, that's when he was MVP Embiid.
Right. That's when the Sixers were at the highest point. That's why that game is very significant to me, because at that point, the Sixers, they were ready to go. And the Knicks went into their building and completely annihilated them. So that's a matchup that I'm looking forward to.
You want the January game? Yeah, January 5th. Oh yeah, Isaiah he's killed him. 17 points. He was a plus 26.
Had 5 assists. And one of the reasons he has 5 assists, again, he had the spacing. So
one thing, let's talk about, well, first let's look at the injury report as it is right now. And then we'll get into, so this is what's happening right now. Joel Embiid is listed as game time decision. I highly doubt he will not play this game. He will definitely play. But the Anthony Melton is out, and that's a good thing for us. So no sign of Bojan Bogdanovic, because remember he had to have his wrist scoped, so he's not listed at all as questionable or anything.
Too, George, because Chris Persianen reported it, but nobody else has said anything about it. Don't you think that's interesting? Like, nobody, like Fred Katz, the other reporters that cover the Knicks, no one has said. Stephon Bondi, Ian Begley, Tibbs hasn't even been asked, like nothing. So that the whole thing is a little bit strange. You know what I mean?
There's been zero follow-up about it too. So but we heard the news, we heard the information. It was definitely a concern, obviously. But the way he's been playing of late, it's really important. Actually, I'm going to jump to that because this is going to open up our bench conversation. Because one of the things that I noticed when I was looking back at the other games, we had significant contributions from bench players. Quentin Grimes, he played 24 minutes in that first game in January. He gave 19 points. He was 4 of 9 from the 3-point line. Deuce had a big game. In his 15 minutes, he was 4 of 8, 4 of 6 from the 3-point line. He contributed 15 points. So And then Josh Hart, who, he was coming off the bench at the time. Phenomenal game for him too. 10 points. Josh Hart. Right, let me just show you this too, because this is crazy. Where did it go? Here we go. So Josh Hart versus the Sixers this season only had one game where he was a minus in the plus minus. It was just a -2. He was a total of a plus. Wait, no, plus wrong. 59. No, it was even higher. He was a plus 59 against the Sixers. So when he was on the court the whole time, he was a plus 46 in the January game. Actually, he's a plus 89. I screwed that up. He was a plus 89, not 59. Josh Hart is a plus 89 against the Sixers this season in 4 games. Jesus. Yeah, I'm just going to Sixers. Put that in the chat. Yeah, that's plus 89. And look at this, the rebounding. Phenomenal for us. All right, let's get back to talking about the bench and Bojan and his importance. And we can also talk about right now first let's talk about the bench. Obviously Bojan is the guy who, in terms of points production, has to step up every single game and give us points production. And I don't think how deep you think we're going to go in our rotation?
3 or 4. You want to name them out? Probably go Bojan, Deuce, Mitch.
There's
Precious.
3.
That'll probably be it until.
And Precious.
Situational.
I think Precious will get a look, especially against the Sixers. He matches up well with them. We can put him on Harris if he starts cooking a little bit. Paul Reed if he starts, and Embiid. I think Precious will get a look. So you think we're going to go? You think we're going to go 8 deep? But I think 9.
8 with Precious being swung in there as needed.
Yeah,
I think we're going to go 8 as well. Man, let's see how this Hartenstein news is, because if he's going to play a lot of minutes, then we might. Because I think that Bogey is going to be on a short leash. Like, I really do. Because if he goes out there and he does not hit shots, I think Tibbs will be immediate with his with making a move, because he's just not going to. He's playing better, but that's because he's making shots now. It's not because his defense has improved. It's not because his awareness on that end of the court has improved. His closeouts
his defense has improved a tiny little bit.
It looks better because he's making shots.
Yeah, pretty much.
It looks
definitely
more acceptable because he's making shots. So it's like you pay less attention to that end and his rotational awareness when he's making shots. But again, it's the playoffs, and I just think that Tibbs is going to have a short leash on a few guys. And I think Bogey is one of them. I think Mitch could be another one. And I think that's where Precious could get a look. So I'm going to start with 8. Bogey, Mitch, and who's the other one?
Deuce.
And Deuce. Yeah.
Deuce.
Those
Deuce,
3.
yeah.
That's 8. And I think Precious will be a fill-in based on, foul trouble, based on does Mitch come in and he does not look great, because we've seen it a few times late in the season, George, where we looked at Mitch. He's played 9-10 minutes. He has 1 rebound. Like, it's not look there yet. And he's had this week off. So we're going to see, does this week help him or will it hurt him?
Yeah.
Because it could help him as far as his soreness or anything he may be feeling in the foot that's natural. Okay, that goes down. But then is his conditioning actually going to improve by being off? So it'll be interesting to see. And then now you're facing a physical center. So that conditioning, that physical nature of his play will be tested. He's not going, it's not like he's coming back and he's, I can chill because all I have to do is put my right arm on Jared Allen or Evan Mobley and I'm good for this possession. No, you're going up against Embiid. So he's going to make you work.
And remember, he sat out the second half of
right, and that's
the last game.
and
we needed. We went to OT. We could have used him.
Right, and that's when you saw Precious come in and even play in overtime as well of that Chicago game. So I think Precious is going to be kind of that utility player in baseball where, versatile, can play different positions. And Mitch and Tibbs he'll use him based on feel on how Bogey and Mitch are playing. Because I think they're going to want to get Precious on the floor, especially for defensive purposes. But if Bogey's playing well and Mitch is playing well, then he might just be situational.
I'm gonna flip it. And basically what you're saying. See, I think Thibs is going to plan for a 9-man because I think he's going to already scheme. He's going to be concerned about foul trouble. He's going to want to rotate the centers in and out. Have them not necessarily shorter leashes, but less time on the floor for shorter stretches of time, so they can be fresher. Number one, not get into foul trouble. Number two, and force Embiid to be seeing someone with fresh legs constantly. So I think, especially in this particular series, because Embiid is such a beast in the middle, it's going to force him to have Precious be part of the rotation. Now, if Mitch is doing a job and taking care of business, and so is Isaiah, then maybe, and not getting into foul trouble, maybe maybe Precious only plays 4 or 5 minutes, and then we don't even see him in the second half. I think he's going to start off thinking, I'm going to be at 9-man unless XYZ happens, and then I go down to 8.
I'll tell you what, if Tibbs tomorrow is thinking about keeping guys fresh, then he has totally adapted to a whole
with the centers, for the centers, not the other guys. Josh Hart's going to play all 48. Brunson's playing 42. Yeah, I think just the centers, because he knows those are his key guys to his defense, and his defense, everything rotates around his defense. So I think that's going to be the mindset there. And he's already talked up Precious in some post games. He loves Mitch, obviously, and Isaiah's just been amazing. So I think he's going to start out with a 9-man, and then if you're right, if things, let's say Bojan is struggling, he's not going to see the court, because we can't afford it for defensively. So then it'll be Mitch, Deuce, and Precious as the 8-man, as the 3 guys off the bench.
I definitely want Precious to get minutes. You know me, you know me, George.
I know you're a big Precious fan. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to get minutes.
I like Precious. I like Precious a lot. And so, and I think he has more defensive potential than even what he's shown. Like, I think he can be very, very, very good defense. He's only 24. And I think with Tibbs, you give him an offseason, a training camp, his awareness has gotten a lot better. That's been one of the weaknesses in Toronto, is he plays good defense, but his awareness sometimes is inconsistent. So he's working on consistency. That's probably the biggest knock in his game right now, is consistent action. But I hope he gets minutes. Let's see what happens. He'll be able to get some center minutes. I just think for now, and Jericho Sims, I only see Jericho Sims playing if Embiid goes healthy, Embiid, and then everyone's getting
yeah, exactly. And like Isaiah's got 4 fouls. Yeah, right. Yeah, and then we're in serious trouble, and that's the situation that we're in.
But at least we have the option, right? Like we have four guys, and Jericho Sims has had some experience already.
And more than 4, because you can throw OG in too.
Yeah, and OG is expected to defend him. In certain possessions, as he mentioned, he says, I fully expect to defend him. He did that in Toronto as well. So the Knicks are very, very well equipped, at least with bodies to defend Embiid. And that was also an expected healthy Embiid. You had enough bodies, but to put that against a limited or somewhat limited Embiid, let's see how that plays out.
All right, let's talk about, and we're probably going to mention some players we've already talked about here, and if we are, just say that, and then we'll move on. Let's talk about, who do we think are going to be the key players in this series? I mean, if you obviously Embiid and Brunson, it all revolves around them. But outside of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and Jalen Brunson. Outside of those three, who do you guys think are going to be the key players that will swing the series one way or the other? Mine, I'll start because I already said it before. It's Josh Hart. Josh Hart has been insane, amazing against the Sixers. He's on a roll. He's starting to understand his game. He felt that click in his wrist, and now he's been shooting the three better. And when he's hitting threes, there is not another team in the NBA that can beat the Knicks. And I'm going to go down with that. I've seen it. And when he's hitting threes, we are unbeatable. So, but we know that he can provide tremendous punch to this team without having to score as well. But when he's not scoring, it's worrisome. But because it screws the offense up. But to me, he's the key. His ability to rebound, his ability to defend. When he gets out on the break, he finishes out on the break. He frustrates other teams. He makes them work harder and harder and harder. He's a pest. He's the kind of guy that you never want to face. And on top of that, look at this. Tommy Beer tweeted out most total rebounds by players under 6'7" over the past 2 seasons. Josh Hart is number 1 over Draymond Green.
George, not only is he number 1 on that list, he's the shortest on that list too.
He's the shortest on that list. That's right. He might be the same size as the John.
No, the Johnson is 6'5".
6'5". So there you go. There's debate that Josh Hart is 6'4" or 6'5", but which I think that's why Tommy Beer went to 6'7" to clear that up. But look at him. Even Russell Westbrook is being hidden down there because I screwed up on the graphic. There you go. So he's my guy. He's rolling. If he's hitting a few buckets, we're going to win in 5. Quis, who's your like key player that could swing the series?
I think it's Dante. You got a guy that can get hot from the 3-point line, and also you've got a team where we know Jalen Brunson. He's going to go out there and he gets his points. But sometimes we're lacking in that second option, especially with Julius Randle not being available. So to have a guy like Dante that we know can go out there, knock down the 3, he can be a serviceable defender. He's going to be matched up against either Maxey, sometimes Kyle Lowry, so he's going to be important in that aspect. And I think, with what we've seen from him, he's shown that he's somebody that we can rely on, game to game. And you've got that connection, that Villanova connection. You mentioned Josh Hart, Brunson, and, the Dante, that kind of makes that trio right there. So I'm going with Dante DiVincenzo, DDB.
Damn, Quis. You always biting.
Wait, before you answer, JD,
I robbed you
in the chat. I want to see you guys drop names in the chat. Who do you guys think is the key player for the Knicks that could swing the series for us? Like if they step up, you expect them to step up. Who's your guy other than Brunson?
I mean, if you feel it's DDV, you can go with him. You got a way of words.
Are you going to go with DVD?
No, I mean,
he's of course. I mean, he's not hitting his buckets. We're going to struggle. Yeah.
Okay.
The difference is that OG could hit a few extra threes. Josh Hart could hit a few extra threes and take that pressure off Dante. We've seen a couple games like that, but over the course of a series, he's going to have to hit his buckets. There's no doubt.
I'm going to say Dante's definitely up there. Hartenstein's up there because of what I mentioned, the whole center thing.
This is how JD decides who he's going to go out with on a Friday.
JD
night.
almost
goes down to Ross. He's like, she's got the good heels. This one can dance. Yeah.
You know what?
Then he arrives at the one he's going to pick.
Here's what I'm going to say. If OG can hit the 3 consistently, I'm gonna name 2 guys. I'm gonna name 2 guys. I don't care because I think for this question we're all gonna go with starters at some point. Josh Hart. You said Dante DiVincenzo.
It doesn't have to be a starter. Because I mean, let's say IQ was still on this team. He totally would have been a legit choice as well.
You couldn't
It's
help
so
yourself.
I want to say Bogdanovich, but I just don't know what type of minutes he's going to get. But I do feel like if Bogdanovich is a guy that can come in and be that lightning rod, can come in and, he plays 15 minutes and has 14 points and he can hit some threes. If he can play I just think when the Knicks get him or McBride to really play well offensively from a shooting standpoint, man, the Knicks are hard to beat and they're hard to defend. Like they're hard to defend. Like I can see games where Brunson's on, DiVincenzo's hitting threes, OG's hitting the corner three, iHeart's playing okay. Josh Hart is rebounding, and we still are in a close game in the fourth quarter, and it could be a toss up. But what will happen if McBride is hitting threes or Bogdanovich is hitting, scoring 15 points? That right there could be the difference in creating separation where you have an 8-9 point lead and now you're winning a game in the fourth quarter. That can also be the difference in being able to steal some minutes for Brunson off the bench, because that's also going to be a storyline, George.
We're winning or at least not losing the non-Brunson minutes.
And how many of those minutes can Tibbs afford to take with Brunson off the floor? That's going to be key. That's why Bogdanovich is an off the bench. Him and McBride, whichever one gets more minutes, they're going to have the most pressure to make sure that if Brunson is out for 6-7 minutes, that we're not a -8 in those 6-7 minutes, that we're not like, that we're able to survive and either stay afloat or even, be a plus in the minutes. Because that might be the key to the series. It could also be the key to how far this Knicks team goes, is what's going to happen in those Brunson off the court minutes. Because if you look at the series last year against Miami,
that's the key to whether
when Brunson was out against Miami, we were done. We were lost.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say Bogdanovich, McBride, whoever gets more minutes, and if it's a starter, I think OG offensively is going to be key, because you're going to see the double teams on Brunson. And that means someone has to step up, George. If this was Miami, it would be the zone, and we would be saying the shooters are the key.
I guess maybe I should have rephrased it, because what I'm thinking is, who do we think? Of course, if Deuce is having a good series, a big series, we're probably winning. If Bojan is doing his points per minute when he plays, we're kicking butts. But those are ifs. We've seen Bojan come in, he'll give us 9 points, but he's a -14, and Deuce, he can come out. We saw him the other day. He was like the last few games of the season, I think he got a little too tired and stuff. He did pick it up, I think, one game in that last 5 games or whatever, but he was like, he can go 1 for 7, and the thing is, it's within his capabilities. But guys, if they just play their actual game, like OG is going to give you 15 to 23 points. He's going to do it every night. He's going to contribute, and then he's going to shut down the other guy every night. He's not going to get cooked. It's just not going to happen. Brunson's going to come through with 30, automatic. Dante is, he's gotten risen up to the level where, he's almost automatic. You give him 12 3-pointers a night, he's going to hit at least 5, maybe 6, and we're rolling. But Josh Hart, he plays his regular game, which is just total chaos for 48 minutes when he's out there. He's just going to drive the other team insane. He's going to throw them.
He
gets those extra rebounds. He gets those crazy rebounds that you don't expect a little guy like that. He goes over the top. He just pulls it off a 6'9" guy. Just reaches over and grabs it without fouling him. Unbelievable when he does that stuff.
If that's the case, then to me it's simple. It's OG Anunoby for me. If you're telling me that OG is going to play his game and OG is going to he's going to have the impact that he's had during the season. He's going to shut down the man that he defends. And he's going to most importantly, that elbow is not going to flare up.
No, it looks like we're past that. It looks like we're past that.
Then I'm thinking about 20-3 with the Knicks OG. I'm looking at that impact, and I'm saying, if this guy can come in, it's the playoffs now. Again, here's the other thing with OG. OG's in a contract year. if OG comes in and has anywhere near that impact he's had during the season, ooh, that contract, that value, that money, the dollar signs is only going up and up and up. And again, if he plays his game, that means you're telling me if we put him on Maxey, Maxey's out of the game. And if Joel is limited and Maxey's not performing, then you're going to get those games that they had against the Heat where the Heat were up double digits. They just weren't able to close it. We're going to be able to have the opportunity to go up double digits against the Sixers if OG comes in, he's hitting the corner three, and he's dominating defensively because he's getting steals. He's cutting. Like, OG's game is very nice. When you look at OG and you think about everything that you can get from this guy, you're going to get a few cuts per game, which means a few dunks. You're going to get the corner 3-point shot. You're going to get steals. You're going to get deflections. You're going to get hustle. You're going to get defense. I mean,
that's what I love, that he can score in so many different ways. And here's another key thing too, to piggyback on your OG as the key guy. We know shooting gets much more difficult in the playoffs. All percentages you generally go down, except for the one or two guys that pop. There's always those guys that rise. But in general, they go down, especially in clutch. They go down, I don't know, an average of 4 or 5%. Everyone's, so that's how you have to factor that in. But OG, he is a lethal mid-range shooter. And there will be a time in the playoffs where that's going to be a necessity, where it's just, you just can't make it to the rim. Shot clock's, about to run out, and you need a clean look, and he'll hit that 17-footer. He can even hit that 19, 18-footer. And Deuce has also been pretty good in the mid-range at times, and so is Brunson. So we have that tandem. I haven't seen that Dante do it too much. Josh Hart, he can do that. I'm glad he's not doing that turnaround in the paint, that 10-footer. I mean, that thing, my son's like, that never goes in. It's like, that never goes in. I go, no, it goes in. Sometimes he goes, that never goes in. He's right. Not enough.
I look at who's the one guy outside of Brunson, like you mentioned, your same question, that we can't afford to have a dismal series. And to me, that's OG. I don't think this team can afford to have, because even if Josh Hart is playing his game, we could still lose the series. I think if OG is completely out of it, it's going to be hard to win this series.
OG's not. I mean, I just don't see it happening. I mean, he'd have to be hurt. He'd have to be hurt. He just
don't do that.
No, I know. I'm just saying. I just don't see him not stepping up, not being himself. And himself is lethal. I mean, all defensive level player, first team. He's a first team all defensive guy. If he's not on it, I don't know what people are looking at, but definitely. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand. People doubting the Knicks. Look how many different guys we've just talked about who can all step up and just turn the tide of a game, just themselves, because we know the other guys aren't going to crap out. Bojan could crap out, a Burks could crap out, which is why Burks is out, and a Deuce
he crapped out, so he's out. He crapped out, so he's out.
Totally. And Dante could have a bad game over the course of between 4 to 7 games. He could have a bad game, but we could still win.
Well, it goes to the question I actually wanted to ask you guys. It happens every playoffs, and it happens every series. There's always the one role player or the one player overall that just doesn't show up, just has a subpar series. Who are you concerned? Who gives you that? I don't want to. It's not that you're predicting that player will have a subpar series. Is who gives you the concern that they, might struggle to start at least the first round?
Quis, you want to tackle that first?
Me, probably Josh Hart. I think he does so much that for him to struggle, I think it would definitely hurt, especially that bench unit when he's playing with them, and also minutes out there when he's there with Brunson. If he's getting open and he's not hitting his 3-point shot, that's going to make it a lot easier for.
No, but I'm saying, Keith, you think there's a chance that he could have a subpar series?
Oh, the whole series. The whole series?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. because
I think there's a chance.
it happens
I
every
think there's a
playoffs.
chance.
Like, you have a 7-game series and you have that one, important rotational player that out of the 7 games for 5 games, he didn't show up. Like, it happens. Like, every team is not going to have their whole rotation.
I agree, but I'm going to throw another thing on top of that. Most of the time when that happens, it's because teams are scheming to try and disrupt that player, stop that player.
That, or they have issues shooting, like Josh Hart.
And I'll say this.
The yips.
I'll say this to
The
add.
yips. If you get the yips, woo.
and to that question,
we've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen the yips. Who had
this was Draymond Green's main point yesterday, and I saw his podcast, is that he says that one of the reasons why he thinks the Knicks won't play well in the playoffs is he says you're gonna see now why Julius Randle is so important, because he says now you're gonna see, like, and I don't know if it's him just talking, but
did he watch Julius Randle in the playoffs?
The one insight that I did take away was he says during the season the players, they're a little lackadaisical. He says some of the scouting reports that they get from their staff is not the best scouting reports because the games are happening so fast. People are not really scheming.
It's old. It could be old info too.
Right. They're just relying on their system. So it's basically like, okay, we're fast-paced team. We're the Indiana Pacers. We're just going to play like that every time. We're not going to really adjust to you. You just try to adjust to us. Like he says, that's how the season is. It's a bunch of you play your way, we play our way. Let's see who wins. He says now that all of that stops. Everybody is now scheming against you for a full series. And he thinks that we won't have enough. He thinks that some of the players that were playing well are now going to be focused on more, and you may see some subpar series from a few players that played well. He doesn't think that they'll play well now. I don't agree with that,
like last year's Knicks.
Right. I don't agree with that. But what I took away from that is it did get me to think, who could be that one player that may not show up this series? I'm going to ask the guys, see who they think may not show up, at least in this first round.
One of the issues I have with that Draymond comment is it's ignoring the reality that Jalen Brunson is on this team. So that's the beauty. That's why I am saying we are the legitimate number 2 team in the Eastern Conference. Legitimate, because Jalen Brunson, when we need a bucket, he figures it out. And the beauty is he's not just doing it on his own anymore. Remember that little stretch? Like, there was a stretch there in December. Mitch went down. He started trying to take it on too much by himself, and it kind of came back a little bit when Randall and OG went down. But they must have gotten into the film room. He figured it out. He's like, look, I am now the gravity on this team. And from this gravity that I create, it creates space for others. And boom, his assists went up. Everyone's field goal percentage shooting went up. 3-point shooting went up. He will not let this team become what Draymond described. And that's the beauty of that. And then the other guys know that. So it makes them comfortable. Now, if Brunson comes out and he's struggling, 1 for 6, which we've seen that's when we start getting behind in those first quarters. We start struggling. Again, shout out to the team. Then that means Hart sometimes steps up, hits a few buckets. Dante starts launching and hits 3. That's the other thing I love about it. I love guys who can hit 3, 4, 5 3-pointers in a row. Bojan did it. Look what Nicholas Batum did the other night. You need guys like that, and we got a couple of guys. We got like 3 or 4 guys like that on the team. OG can hit 3-pointers in a row.
Mm-hmm. I guess I think the candidates would be Deuce, right? He has a storyline. It's not his first playoff.
Deuce, I'm a little concerned about offensively,
but it's his first moment as a rotational player.
The only guard coming off the bench for us.
Right. So what will that look like? Will he hit shots? Because remember, we seen it with the other kids that we had their first go round. IQ, Grimes, they struggled because it was their first time going through that learning experience. Will Deuce follow that is a question. Mm-hmm. Then you have Mitch. is another question that you're not sure if he's going to have a great series because of all the physical aspect of it, the health aspect. Where's that conditioning like? Then you have Bogey. Is the way he ended the season more is what's going to translate to the playoffs, or is this wrist thing something that's going on, or will he revert back to the Bogey of
we don't know.
Like, we don't know. And then from the starters, the only guy that I'm really, I want to see is Dante, because Dante can, as much as he's a dynamic shooter and he's very streaky, and he could have these off halves where because he has so much freedom to launch them, he could have a 3 for 15 day or a 3 for 10 half, because he has the freedom, but he can sometimes get a little streaky. I think outside of that group, I'm very, very confident in everyone else being able to show up and produce their game. Not a lower level of the game, but actually their highest level of games. Between Hart, I think we're going to get the highest level of his game. Brunson, OG, iHeart. I just a little bit leery of Dante shooting now. Will it be at the same clip as the regular season, or will it dip just a little bit? I'm confident. I think Deuce is going to show up.
I mean, over the course of a series, I think he will. And I think one advantage for Deuce to make his life easier is the series begins at MSG. So that's the other thing. It's not his first couple games isn't going to be, in the crazy Sixers arena.
Last year, we were on the road in Cleveland. The kids struggled to start in Cleveland.
Yep.
This year, yeah.
Hey, look, man. As far as Dante is concerned, when Dante's hitting his buckets, we blow teams out. We blow them out.
Good thing you put context to it after the.
Look at this. I mean, he just blow them out. It's crazy. He did not have a great, campaign versus the Sixers, though.
Who? Dante?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, George.
Now I'm looking at it here.
And George, you
know game one, he was amazing. He was 4 of 6, hit all. I mean, it's 14 points. We blew him up by 36. The second game against them, he had 16 points. He was 4 of 11. It's not terrible from 3-point.
Tomorrow, everybody's gonna be so pumped. Watch the game start like 3 for 12 because everybody's
gonna be overly amped. Yeah, that could happen.
That's what happened game 3 against Cleveland. We had I don't know how many points. It was like 4 minutes left in the first quarter because everybody was so amped. Imagine tomorrow. It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be nuts. It's gonna be nuts. I'm gonna be insane. I'm totally gonna be insane. Man. Let's go to this thing here. These are our stats here. Obviously, Joel Embiid would be the leading scorer on the Sixers if he qualified. He only played 39 games this year. He averaged 34.7 points per game, 11 rebounds, and almost 6 assists. Unbelievable season he had. Unfortunately, he didn't even play half the amount of games. But Brunson was our leading scorer, 28.7 points per game for the season. However, since January 28th, he's been averaging 31.5 points per game, 7.1 assists per game. And when you break it down even further, I picked this up from, I think it was the New York Post, I believe. Incredible spread on this thing, talking about his greatness. He's the third highest scoring for, the 2,000 point club. He scored 2,212 points this season for third best in Knicks history, above Carmelo, above McAdoo, who was a beast down low. Bernard King, who you guys know is probably my favorite player here. But then we go a little further in, closer up here. This is Brunson's stats in terms of shooting percentages by distance. So at the rim, he's 63.6%. That's for a guard, that is elite. 3 to 10 feet, 51.9%. Then comes the mid-range. In the mid-range, remember I was saying in the playoffs, the mid-range does become important to some extent. You don't want to be taking too many of them, but there are going to be times where you're going to have to take them. Look at it, he's averaging 47.4% from 10 to 16 feet, and from 16 to the three-point line, 42.6%. Those are elite numbers. And then from the three-point line, he's averaging 40.1%. Now, and he's better on the road than he is at home in terms of his point scoring. But then now look at the scoring by month in April. So he was averaging 31.7 or something since OG and Julius got hurt. In April, the last 8 games, he's averaging almost 36 points a game. 36. Those are crazy numbers, man. This is why I don't think, but against the Sixers, he did struggle to some extent. He had 2 bad games and 2 really good games. 22.3 points per game, but we ended up winning 3 out of those 4 games. So it also shows that even if the Sixers scheme and try to stop and slow Brunson down and all that, we have enough other weapons to overcome and beat the Sixers. I love this graphic. Did any of these numbers surprise you guys? None of this surprises you guys, right?
I mean, to see the big uptick after Julius Randle and OG went down, I think that answered a big question that was going on in the national media, is whether or not Jalen Brunson could be a 1A. And he pretty much showed it. As soon as that question mark popped up, we lost a couple of our key contributors, and Jalen Brunson pretty much puts the team on his back and kind of willed us to the second seed. JD earlier in the live stream, he was saying, fans, some fans maybe have not really been able to digest us getting to that second seed. And I'm definitely one of those fans, because it was getting to a point where I was like, I just want to avoid the play-in. I don't care where we end up. I don't care who the matchup is. I just know we're missing a lot of our key contributors. And if we don't, pick things up, we might be on the outside looking in. And Jalen Brunson, he picked up his lunchbox, went to work, and he helped will us to that second seed. So, kudos to him.
And I was saying this, too, in terms of, and it goes along with the whole thing where we were a 2 seed for literally one day. And, I don't think fans have been able to really, it hasn't sunk in that, this guy literally led us to a number 2 seed. But because we were in a 2 seed for a full week where we can just sit back and relax, like the Celtics fan, they've been able to appreciate that number 1 seed because they've been there all season. But we literally, it's not like we touched the 2 seed and then fell back to the 4 seed. So now we're back. Like we only were the number 2 seed at the end of the year. And so to me, when I look at that and I look at the fact that, just look around the NBA. If you took away Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, what would the Phoenix Suns be for half a season? If you
just take away Durant. Let's say you take away the equivalent of what Randall was to this team on any of these teams. You take away Maxey from the Sixers.
He's an all-star. Take away Maxey from the Sixers.
Yeah.
Well, but we already got some of that without Embiid.
Right, but Embiid is, I put Embiid in the Brunson level. He's a 1A. Yeah. Right. So take away a 1B. Take away a 1B or like a really high 2 on a team, and do they rise in the standings
like that
afterwards?
No.
And then you throw OG in there because he missed 18 games or so.
Exactly. You throw OG in there. You throw the trade. Then you throw OG missing games, throw in Isaiah Hartenstein's missing games, and then his minutes restriction. Because even when he's back, remember those couple games he didn't play back to back, and then the games he played, he was coming out like 4 or 5 minutes into the first quarter. He was in a minutes restriction. Mitch missed 50 games. Your starting center missed 50 games. So to deal with all this adversity, all this moving parts, all these changes. I mean, if you're at your job and the turnover around your job around you is constant every week, it's not the most healthiest environment for you to be able to succeed, or for you. I mean, you may be able to withstand that and survive it, but does your performance go to another level? Like it's a very difficult thing to do. And for him to be able to do that, and I think he's the only guy in the NBA had that handled that type of adversity. Get us to a number 2 seed, be an MVP candidate. That surprised me. It surprised me that his play has had that type of impact, that he was able to go to a new level even when he was schemed against, because teams now know you don't have Randall. He's being double teamed. You saw that Laker game where they double teamed. They didn't even let him cross half court, and they were double teamed. He still cooked them and almost got us to win that game. Like, that's impact there. It's unbelievable, and it gives me confidence that in the playoffs he's gotten these reps. So this, like the Randall and all this adversity, did not come in the last 2 weeks of the season, right? Like, this has happened for more than half a season. So he is well conditioned mentally to be able to now take on the next challenge, which is playoff basketball.
Look at that scoring. Look at the scoring chart. 61. They can't even put in the chart for 61 because it would go up into the court up here. See the 61? Like, that's insane. Buzzer beater, thank you so much for the super chat. I confirmed that it is from the New York Post. And you can find that it was a tweet on Twitter. You can go into their account and you can find it. It's a great graphic. Thank you so much for the contribution.
I wanted to point out another thing JD had mentioned, how the Boston Celtics, they've been sitting comfy in the 1 seed for pretty much the entire season. And you look at this team has been playing playoff basketball since the year turn 2024. You lose those guys, you have to have it's next man up, and you guys playing above what most people expected. You look at a guy like Precious, to me, he came in and he held down the fort for us. So I think he's in a position where if Tibbs does decide to give him extended reps, in the playoffs, he's in a position where he can at least be confident that he can go out there and kind of play some of the same basketball we saw, when he first got here. So I think that's another reason why I'm pretty confident. This team has been playing playoff basketball for 4 months, and it's just going to be now just making sure that we execute and, no mental errors. I think that's going to be the biggest issue with the Knicks, us, potentially, falling into some of the traps that we've seen throughout this season. I think the only team that can derail us is us.
Yeah, we got to protect that ball. That's for sure. That was one thing that was a little. That's one of the things that the Bulls did a good job at in one of the games. The last 3 games of the Bulls against the Bulls. Honestly, I shout out to the Bulls. They played us hard. They didn't phone it in. They definitely wanted to play their best, and they had guys step up unexpectedly. Javonte Green stepped up in that first game, and Ayo Dosunmu, and then Kobe White has just been unbelievable. Happy for them in terms of that, because losing Lonzo, it sucks. Injuries suck, and then Zach's out, so it's nice to see Kobe stepping up. Kobe White, I'm talking about. So it was, they weren't going to roll over on us, and they matched up decently with us. But at the end of the day, they just don't have enough. Like in soccer, in pro soccer, and they use the word quality. They just don't have enough quality in their roster to overcome a team like the Knicks. I know it's our team, and sometimes we get a little. Some people have the orange and blue colored glasses on, and some people are a little too critical. It's like we have a lot of fans on either spectrum. There's people in between, but in terms of the actual overall quality of the players on this team, it's very high quality. When you think about, Mitch, who at one point had an argument for being defensive player of the year, he's coming off the bench now as a backup center. And over the course of a series, especially against Embiid, I think he's only going to get better. He's going to be his game 1 is going to be his worst game of this series with Mitch. He's going to get more and more conditioning, the intensity. He's going to shake off some of that rust. You can see he doesn't have his touch. His putbacks, his tip-ins aren't there yet. He's still struggling with that. So what's he done recently? He's just dunking it now. He's not even trying to do the tip-ins anymore. He's just trying to grab it and dunk it. So he's adjusting. It's going to come over time, and if the Sixers can survive 7 games, they're going to lose anyway. But I think this series is done in 5, personally, in my opinion. 6 at the most. 6 at the most. How about you guys? What guys, what are your feelings in terms of this series? How many games? Or I mean, I expect you guys think the Knicks are going to win.
Yeah,
Peace.
I think they'll cancel the series after the third game. Knicks in 3.
Knicks in 3. Yeah. Sixers will be like, hey, you know what? We got a good deal in Cancun if we go now.
Exactly.
Can we just send a G League team?
He was getting a little ahead of himself. He was talking about the Knicks colored glasses. He threw his on real quick.
Is that surprising, Quis?
Not at all. But I think we'll definitely win in 6. I think the 76ers, you have talent on that side, like Maxey, like Embiid. You're gonna find a way to win a game or two.
They're going to win a game. They're going to win a game.
What happens if Embiid regains his MVP like status? Like, let's say he just gets healthy. Do you still go Knicks in 6?
Oh yeah, I do.
Knicks in 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the possibility of a 7, but I still think it's Knicks in 6.
If Embiid plays great, we can still beat them. We will beat them anyway. They need what they need Tobias Harris
to do something.
Give them 30 points. They need Maxey to come up with 40, 38. They need Oubre to have a 27-point game, all in the same game. You know what I mean? That's what they need.
I know you're not a fan of Oubre, George. I think you're gonna hate him more this series. I think when you look at,
he's definitely gotten better.
I think when you look at who's going to be the nagging guy, who's going to be the annoying guy, who's going to be the villain, I think Kelly Oubre is going to voluntarily participate in that because you already saw he had a little bit of a mix-up with the Knicks in last game in Madison Square Garden. You saw in the playoff game against Miami, Eric Spoelstra was not happy with him and Jimmy Butler and that whole thing. You see him playing with passion. You see him trying to be an annoying player. I think he's going to try to do something just to galvanize his team, and he's going to be. He's played a lot better with Philly than he did with Golden State.
Played a lot better.
They're taking jabs in the media.
Nurse unlocked him a little.
Those slight ones.
Yeah.
Nick Nurse unlocked him a little bit.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Knicks in 6. I'm not gonna lie. You know it too, George. You know you want to say Knicks in 5. I want to say Knicks in 5.
I'm saying Knicks in 5. I'm saying if Embiid, if like what I'm saying about Mitch, if over the course of the series, Mitch is going to improve because his conditioning is going to get better. Same thing should hold for Embiid. So the key is for us to win these first 2-3 games, and then it is over by 5. But let's say we split the first 2 and we split the next 2. I can see us winning, games 5 at MSG and then going to Philly and winning game 6, and it's over in 6. That's if Embiid keeps shaking off the rust, doesn't look so hobble, doesn't look like his grandfather out there, then I can see that. But the way he's looked, I just don't think he can. I think he's actually is just playing through pain. That's what it looks like to me. Chris Dada, we thank you so much for the super chat. What's up, man? We talked about this earlier. Totally key. The non-Brunson minutes are essential for how far we'll go in the playoffs.
How about this to help with that super chat? When Brunson's not on the floor, what's the lineup that you want to see out there that you think can give us the best chance to survive non-Brunson minutes?
I want me to say first?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's going to require Dante being out there, honestly, along with Deuce, because we just need the beauty of the non-Brunson minutes in terms of us winning them is having guys like Precious, Hart, Dante, Deuce, and OG, maybe kind of a smallish lineup, getting in there, creating turnovers, throw Bojan in there for some minutes as well. Just get out there on the break, shoot those pull-up threes before the defense is set when you have a clean look. That's the key to me. But I think all of that is hard becomes harder to do if Dante's not out there to help Deuce.
Right.
That's how I feel about that. How about you, Quis?
Yeah, I agree with George. It's definitely going to have Dante out there, and also I think the additional variable you'd have to ask to get a better understanding of that question is who do the 76ers have out there, because you also want to match up well against them.
Because I think I wouldn't be surprised if other teams, knowing that that's a big question mark for the Knicks, I wouldn't be surprised if other teams keep or maybe take out their guy a little earlier, and then when Brunson comes out, then maybe Embiid either stays in the game or he comes back in the game, or Maxey. I think the other opponent is always going to try to have one of their stars on the floor so that they can say, okay, Brunson is their star. He's on the bench. Let's have our star now on the floor, and let's try to win these minutes.
Yeah. So you'll see Maxey will be out there. Maxey will be out there when Brunson's not out there. I think that's how Nurse will probably try to counter with that, which is why we need Deuce and Dante. Because Deuce will be working hard on Maxey, and then Dante will be able to benefit off of that. What about Buddy Hield? We haven't talked about him.
What about him? He stinks. No, I'm just kidding.
I think he's an X factor, man.
Yeah.
I think he could be. When
he could have been a Knick. He's been a Knick rumors for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of rumors. He was a starter in Indiana, started to start in Philly. So, whenever it's kind of like bogey. Whenever you put a starter off the bench, the thinking is that you're going to get a boost because you have a quote unquote starting caliber player coming off the bench. Listen, his shooting is going to be important for them, and it's going to be important for us to defend. And that's why Embiid is so important, because it's now like to me, George, when you start talking about X factors of other teams and role players, that's when I go to the head coach of the New York Knicks. That's when I go to Tibbs, because now what is the scheme that we're going to execute out there? Because this is where these players get affected by that scheme. In other words, if we're going to continue to play the drop coverage, pack in the paint, then that means guys like Buddy Hield now become more important. Guys like Nicholas Batum now become more important for the Sixers and Tobias Harris, because those are the guys that are going to shoot those threes. And so what is Tibbs' adjustments going to be like, or what is his scheme to start out going to be like? Is he going to play a little bit closer to the three-point line because of these shooters, or is he going to dare them to shoot and beat them? If you want to base it on film of how they played in the season, it looks more like Tibbs is going to dare some of these guys to make shots, and we'll see what happens.
It's crazy. We went an hour and 40 minutes into the live stream without having to deep dive into Tibbs. We've come a long way, haven't we? We've definitely come a long way.
Yeah.
Oh,
it would have been F-bombs dropped. Come a long way, baby.
That's crazy.
Man, Buddy Hield shot almost 39% for the Sixers.
What do you think about Buddy Hield? Think he's important?
He's definitely important. He's a guy that can get hot, and if the team needs a big three, that's probably the guy that they're going to draw up a play. And like you mentioned, it's going to come up down to Tibbs. We've talked a lot about Jalen Brunson. We know he's going to do his part to make sure his teammates are in the best position to succeed. The other half of that equation is going to come down to Tom Thibodeau. So what are we going to do if we're having issues, stopping Tyrese Maxey from getting into the paint? Are we going to have, the right guys out there to be able to rotate and, chase their three-point shooters off the three-point line? So that's going to be big on Tibbs, both his scheme and like what we've been talking about. Who is he going to have out there? What is his lineup going to be? If he's going to have two minus defenders, is he going to have other guys over there that can kind of, overcome some of their deficiencies? So it's going to be big for Tibbs. He's another guy looking for a contract. We talk about OG looking for a contract. Tibbs is out there looking for a contract. And to me, the evaluation process of Tibbs starts in the playoffs. We know what Tibbs can do in the regular season. It's the playoffs that we really want to keep an eye out on Tibbs. What is he going to do? Is he going to make the right decisions?
Let me put you guys on the hot seat. So piggybacking off what you said, Keith. If, thank God, hopefully it doesn't happen. if the Knicks lose in this first round, are you giving Thomas Thibodeau a contract extension?
I am. I am. I know
Why you
Quis is not.
stuttered? Why you stuttered?
He stuttered.
Because I'd be conflicted, man. Because
I'm pulling out my
Tom Thibodeau,
check. I'm pulling out my checkbook.
He's coached his ass off in the regular season, but there's been plenty of coaches that have been able to get good results in the regular season, and teams have had to part ways and try to find another coach to help get them over the hump. So, if we have a situation where we lose in the second round, but Tibbs, the guys did a good job, do I think we move forward in a different direction? No. But if we go in there in that first round against a depleted, I won't say depleted, but a hobbled 76ers team that has, their best player is probably only playing at 75%. And we have Jalen Brunson coming off of, arguably an MVP caliber season. And you're telling me we're getting kicked out in the first round after we're the second seed. I mean, you would expect, Brunson to do what he has to do. So at that point, if you're looking at changes that have to be made, it would either be trying to, nurse Julius Randle back to health, swapping him out for another piece, or making a change at the head coach position. So at that point, I'd have to see who the possible options are to replace him, and then explore if that might be the right option.
I think Thibs is safe because no Randall. Randall being hurt kind of removes that
contract extension this off season. If we lose
I think I think I will say this. This is my feeling about the contract extension.
He's 66. That's the other thing you got to think about is if you even do.
Yeah, but he has no other life. It's not like he's got a wife and kids and or grandkids.
He's not gonna go join Berman in Florida and golf.
No. He's probably the one who sent them that OG Anunoby shirt.
Yeah.
He I think it's just a matter of how much and for how long. I think if the Knicks advance, if we go to the second round, he'll basically get, or even goes further, he'll get whatever he wants. If we're ousted in 7 games, it'll limit maybe the length of his contract. If we get swept, that's a whole different story. That's a whole different story. Or in 5, gentlemen. Anything, gentlemen. Yeah. I honestly, I even say 6. I'll tell you, anything less than a 7-game series loss, I think it will not impact his negotiating power. And I think in some ways he might not even want to have negotiated. He wants to see, because he knows that if he gets this team to the Eastern Conference Finals, Dolan's just going to pull out the checkbook and say, here, write your own numbers in, and length of years. I think that's a very real possibility. He's in the driver's seat at this moment in terms of negotiating.
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend on the first round.
How it happens, how it unfolds. It's not just
how it unfolds.
Straight out loss. Then he's we're looking for another coach. I don't think that's going to happen, especially because of Randall.
And like you said it perfectly. How, for example, JB Bickerstaff in Cleveland, he is in hot water because they're talking about what he suffered last playoffs, some of the coaching this year. So his momentum is not positive heading into these playoffs because it looked like he got badly outcoached by Tibbs. Joe Mazzulla, to me, in Boston, has a ton of pressure because although he has a 60-win season, he got embarrassed in the playoffs. And what happens if the Celtics, who are by betting odds, by everything, they're the heaviest favorites ever to reach the finals from an Eastern Conference conference. If they don't make it, there's certain circumstances that are in front of you that if you don't meet those expectations, the whole OG thing, 20-3, like how does that just disappear? Let's say we lose in 5. Like, what did that mean then? Mm-hmm. Like how? Like my questions would be, how in the world did we lose in 5 if all these numbers supported that we were supposed to win this series? And then it goes along to what you said. How did this happen? Was it that Brunson just totally disappeared, or was it that we didn't make key substitutions. We didn't, we were stubborn in making certain things, or Nick Nurse badly outcoached us, then that'll look bad.
Another thing that factors into those kind of things, it does sometimes come down to in-game decisions. Like if you made the wrong sub or you called the wrong inbound play, like remember that bullshit with against the Bulls that happened, and we lose because of things like that, then you're talking a different talk. Then it's like, oh, okay, maybe. But I struggle to see that happening. Every time we doubt him, even though he definitely deserved to be fired about a year and a half ago when we were calling it, he deserved it back then. Dolan was about to fire him. Dolan was about to fire him. We've heard.
So the report that he even told someone close.
Yeah, he told him, and then Ian Begley and Fred Katz ended up verifying that Dolan was about to fire him. He made the lineup change. He benched Cam, took Fournier out, went to an 8-man rotation. Boom, we went on a nice run, and it saved his ass last season. And then this season, Brunson's just exploded, became an elite player. He became one of the top 5 players in the NBA right now.
I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for him. I really am. I'm rooting for him because, whatever you want to say about the coach, the guy, you may not agree with his process, may not agree with his way of trying to get to that goal, but he wants the same goal that we all want.
Totally. But he's adapted. He's adapted though, JD. Right. He's not the same guy that we were talking about 4 years ago, or even 3 years ago, or even 2.5 years ago.
That's why we're so excited to see it now. Like from the get-go in game 1, I want to see, is he going to trust the rotation, or is everyone in the starting lineup going to get 45 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, we're going to see tomorrow. And that's also one of the underlying storylines that makes this game 1 so exciting is the head coach. Will he trust what got him here to this point, or will he revert and panic a little bit because of the playoff pressure and, use some of his starters a little bit longer than what, anybody else would do and trust some of the, because you got Deuce. Hey, he loves Deuce, but will he trust Deuce? He loves Mitch. Will he trust Mitch? Precious, we already seen he's not afraid to put Precious out of the rotation because he's done that. So, these are all questions that he's going to be tested starting tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think he's going to get one of the biggest contracts ever because the Knicks are going to end up in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think, and Thibs going
to per year. He probably
per year.
Current high? Is it Monty?
Per year, I think it is Monty, right? 12 million? Is it Monty at 12 or something? If anyone knows in the chat, just drop it in.
Something like that. Let me Google.
Yeah, you guys Google. We're coming to a close soon because Quis has a hard out, and I'd like to go hit happy hour and watch the Bulls Miami game.
You can continue after I left. What you talking
about?
That
was definitely what she said. Quis has a hard out.
Miami's
George
beating the Bulls.
Call symbol on the back of his wall just in case. Anytime he says something, just look at it. All right.
Oh man.
We have Greg
if anyone knows, you guys looking up? Did you look up who's got the
Greg Popovich?
Oh, Pop, he just signed that one.
16 million, Eric Spoelstra 15, Monty Williams 13, Steve Kerr 9.5.
Yeah,
one name doesn't fit.
Yeah, man, talk about luck boxing your way. Yeah. Hey. Miami's beating the Bulls currently right now. It's midway through the third quarter, 61-49.
How about that, Joe?
Without Jimmy Butler, unbelievable.
That head coach is different, man.
Oh yeah, he started Jaime Jaquez in place of Jimmy, and Jaime's 5 for 11, 12 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds.
Will Spo go down as the best coach ever?
If he wins one more,
he might not on winning accolades or credentials, but he might in terms of just sheer
brilliance. Yeah. Well, I think he's already kind of up there. I mean, in terms of all time, in my opinion, he is. It's unbelievable. So as we're getting closer to a close here, and if in the chat you guys have anything specific to ask, just drop it in there. Is there anything, any like parting thoughts that you want to like just throw out there? That's, it could be just about anything about the season or the playoffs, whatever it is, something that you've been wanting to talk about. Especially, I'm actually referring to you, Quis, since Quis took a hiatus this season from his incredible channel, Sports Vibes TV, which I think he'll be back next season, especially if the Knicks have a triumphant one this year. Is there anything that you've been kind of like?
If they win, I might not come back because I don't want to jinx it.
You can come on here then. You can come on.
Yeah, right. I'll pull up. Yo, George, I got something to say. Turn the camera on.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
But just to close, like I've been saying, I'm just thrilled. I've been able to, just watch the games, enjoy, not be concerned about, what angle I'm going to take about, a certain game or a certain story, and just been able to just enjoy. And, the product they've put out there on the court is just something that you as a Knicks fan, you just have to be proud of. We've talked time and time again about the hoops and hurdles that they had to go through in order to be in this position. And I think the 76ers is just going to be the next name on what's looking to be a pretty historic season. And I'm just happy to be on here, chopping it up with you guys, talking about our favorite team, and looking forward to coming on again and, potentially breaking down the next series.
Cool, man. How about you, JD? Is there anything? I know you talk a lot. You're everywhere. You're everywhere. He's everywhere. He's always got room to talk and share. But there's always, I mean, there's stuff that the three of us talk about. That's we keep in house. We don't share. But is there anything that off the top of your head or just been stewing? You've been stewing on that.
Listen, the most I'm looking forward to, me personally. Well, there's two things. One is I'll be interested to hear what you guys think to close out. What's another series around the NBA that you're most looking forward to, that you think is the most intriguing? But from a Knicks standpoint, Brunson, I think this is a prime opportunity for him to increase his legend. I think this season, and I said it last season, the momentum was going to be on his side for this season when we talk about the All-Star game. Now he's gotten that. Things are elevating. His marketing. He was top 15. I couldn't believe it. He was 15th in the whole NBA of jersey sales in the second half of the season. So, when you look at some of those names like that, he was higher than. It's like, wow, like everything is coming together for him from a fan standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, off the court, on the court. And now getting a first round opponent like Philadelphia, national TV, national spotlight. This is an opportunity now for him to reach like that. No doubt about it. Next season, everybody's voted him first team. Everybody's voted him all-star starter. Like, it's going to continue to go up and up. And he needs to have a great playoff run to do that. And I think he will. And I can't wait to see it, because everybody that, oh, this and that, all the haters, all the trash talkers, this guy's going to come into your building and literally be the best player on the floor. And I can't wait to see it.
Absolutely. That I'll tell you. And I have talked about it because obviously I get to talk a lot as well and share my thoughts and feelings, but have to. Oh, thank you, Chris Dada. I'll bring it up in a second. Have to. We all have to adjust how we interpret what Jalen Brunson actually is. That's why the Becky Hammond comments were so interesting. And I didn't really talk about it at the time, because what she was saying is, in general, is absolutely true. Absolutely true. You can't really go far. You can't win it all with someone who's under 6'7" as your most important player, as your best player. You just can't.
6'7", bro? You got to take that back.
That's 6'7". What did she say? I don't remember. What did she say? She had the cutout.
I don't know, but you can't say 6'7".
She didn't say 6 anything. She just said like
short. She said a short player.
Yeah, like him, Iverson.
She said a really small guard. You're right. I mean, Michael was 6'6". Yeah. So whatever. She said a small guard. She stressed that. But we've seen throughout history that there are outliers. Isaiah Thomas, Allen Iverson. Now, they didn't win it all, but they went to the finals. You know, I mean, that team, he'd like willed that team to the finals. Him and Larry Brown and all the other trinkets they had, Eric
Steph
Snow
Curry,
and
6'3". Do you count Curry in
Steph Curry 6'3". Yeah, but Steph Curry is
an outlier in terms of
I think she
shooter.
meant like 6'1", 6'2", like a 6-foot guard is what she was talking about, which is what Isaiah Iverson and now Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson has ascended to that level. There's absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is on the level of an Isaiah Thomas, on the level of an Allen Iverson. That's who Jalen Brunson is. He is a bona fide 1A, and he can lead us to the promised land. We can win it all. Now, this year, we shall see. But he is the piece. We already have it. Now we need to, we'll see how this unfolds. But we are there. We have an incredibly special player. I'm not going to use the word generational because that's a different connotation. But in terms of being an elite small guard that can lead a team to the finals, Jalen Brunson is that kind of player. And that was never, ever foreseen by anyone. And the fact that that's happened here for us in front of our eyes, night in, night out, is just, that's beautiful. That's why that's one of the reasons why I'm a basketball fan. That's why I fell in love with the game to begin with. As a kid, of course, watching the 70s Knicks, the Clyde Knicks, my favorite and everything. But even that was a little different style. Then, boom, you get Bernard King doing incredible things. You're like, wow. It's just I'm so happy for young kids in New York getting to watch this guy play night in, night out, have someone to look up to, and the fact that he's not a burner. Well, he's a Brunson burner, but he doesn't beat you because he's faster than everybody else. Like Iverson was faster than everybody else. Isaiah was faster than everybody else. And Isaiah was a great defender as well. So that also gave him the extra plus on that side. Like Brunson isn't that. He does it through craft, through tenacity, he has an A++ mind in terms of situational awareness. You can see it when he's bringing the ball up. He looks at the clock. He looks at the defense. He side glance to Thibs, and then he sizes up the situation. What does he do? Sometimes just step in, boom, pull up three-pointer, sinks it. Sometimes he fakes it, dribble handoff, comes back around, gets it on the other end, drives. I mean, he's like a surgeon out there. And we cannot downplay that greatness at all.
I'm just disappointed because he's also one of the biggest liars in recent memory.
Liars?
Yeah. I mean, because he lied to us. He played with our emotions. His introductory press conference, he says he wasn't a savior.
I don't think he even realized it, honestly.
he turned out to be one.
Yeah. I don't think he saw it himself as that. And so then, give shout out to Thibs. Shout out to Thibs to be able to be there and help guide him to become what he's become. It's just fabulous.
What's the series around the NBA y'all most looking forward to?
Well, before we get to that, shout out to Chris Dada. Another super chat. Thank you, man. He says Thibs decided that if he was going to go out, it was going to be on his own terms. Benching all of the Rose players and playing his guys was the ticket. Then we got Thibs guys, Hart and Dante. Yeah, there was a rocky period there. The signing of Cam, trying to force that, the Kemba signing. Fournier, he definitely embraced the Fournier situation, and he gave us some good production for a season. But yeah, he ended up winning that war, but he did it by delivering, not by gamesmanship or politics or any bullshit like that, by actually putting out a team on the floor that competes every night and ended up the number 2 seed with a 50 burger. The 50 burger, JD. The 50 burger. You called it. It took 3 years, but you called it.
Better late than never. George looks more excited than you do.
I know. Because you know why? Because I've been the one
and everything.
I've been the one waiting so long. Shit. I have my grill in storage. I'm just getting tired of waiting, and finally happened. So, but around the NBA, what's the series you guys are most looking forward to?
Keeps you on it.
As a fan, probably Clippers Mavs. I think that'll be a pretty interesting match.
That's gonna be an interesting series.
Mm-hmm. And then if you're talking about as a Knicks fan, just because of our interest, it'll be Bucks Pacers, because I think the Bucks are food right now, and the Pacers, we could smoke them. If we had them in the first round, it would have been an easy win. It'd probably be 6-2 with them.
Yeah, that could be. It's funny, low key point right there. That's a prime opportunity that could develop for the Knicks if we can get past the series. The Bucks right now are very, very vulnerable. I'm gonna go.
And the Pacers have their number.
Yeah.
On top of that,
I'm gonna go Lakers Nuggets for me.
Yeah, why is that interesting to you? Because I think I saw the Lakers play against the Golden State, and when AD is doing his thing and LeBron's doing his thing, they can be a good team, but I don't know, man. AD tends to disappear. He's one of those guys you can't count on him for an entire series.
I just love watching the great players going against each other, no matter what their teams are. So you have the whole AD, LeBron, Jokic, Murray, and then there was a lot of those games last year in the playoffs were close. They were down to the wire. They were close games, and it was one of those sweeps that it was like a close sweep here and there.
Mm-hmm.
A few games could have went either way. So I'm just wondering if now they do got Gabe Vincent back. He's a playoff player. He played well in that play-in game for the Lakers. So I'm just interested to see now with Darvin Ham. I don't think he's that good of a coach. So that could kill that.
Malone is going to completely coach circles around.
I guess from just a star standpoint, Lakers, Nuggets, but just pure basketball. Clippers, Mavs is up there, and then that Timberwolves Suns is going to be interesting too.
That was the one I was going to say. The Clippers Mavs looks really interesting.
If you're a Knicks fan and you're looking for Devin Booker, you might root for the Timberwolves to smoke the Suns. Just saying, you never know.
Suns
or vice versa.
Suns.
Yeah.
Suns Timberwolves. Yeah, my favorite player. Suns Timberwolves is going to be a really interesting series. I think if the Lakers are going to be lucky to win 2 games,
are you picking the Suns because you just can't call it? Is that why?
No, the Suns. In terms of the Suns,
because I feel like people.
I think the Suns.
They can't call that series.
No, I think the Suns are going to beat the Timberwolves. I think so. I think KD just is not going to want to go out. Like this. He's going to do all he can to win, and then Devin Booker. Bradley Beal. I don't know. He's hurt, right? Isn't he gone, or is he back? Can't even remember.
He's back.
I think what? I think they're going to figure it out, and they're going to end up beating the Minnesota Timberwolves. In terms of the Mavs Clippers, I don't know, man. It's hard to go against Ty Lue. I think he will figure it out. I think the Clippers will end up beating the Mavs. I think it's going to be a 7-game series kind of a thing. What do you guys think in terms of those 2 series?
I think the Clippers. I've been saying the Clippers are. I'm so disappointed in the Clippers because I've been picking them almost every year. Seems like, and I'm just out on them. I just think they're frauds.
So you think the Mavs?
They just haven't met expectations, and I'm just tired of, and then I'm just tired on waiting on them. So it's like, what is going to change now? And then they can't. There's nobody on their team that can stop Luka. Luka owns the Clippers. He toys with them. So
they traded away a guy who could get in his way, which is Batum, ironically.
And he's going to be really Brunson.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a long series, but I do think Ty Lue will figure out how to end up getting the four W's.
Who you got winning tonight to go against OKC? Pelicans or the
Kings
or Kings?
I think the Kings.
Yeah, same. Zion's out, so
Celtics gonna have the easiest round in both conferences.
Yep.
Unless the way the Heat playing tonight, I don't know. We'll see, because I can see the Heat just making them work. Like, they'll lose the series, but I can see the Heat. Just Spo's just that good to me.
It's 82-60 at the end of the third.
So insane.
Wow.
See how they just looked against the Hawks?
It's insane, man. How the hell does that happen?
He's out here neutral, like he's just crazy, man. Spo is different, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So what about the Suns?
I have
Mavs. Quis. Suns Mavs.
Can't call
I mean, I know Clippers
Mavs.
Mavs. Clippers Mavs.
Oh, yeah, you threw me off for a second. I probably think the Mavs are going to come out of that one victorious.
You think?
I think Luka's going to be a little bit too much for them. Also, Kyrie, he's showing that, you know, he hasn't lost a step or anything like that. He's still out there cooking, doing his thing. So I think the Mavs are definitely going to be able to pull that one out. I see them advancing. And then with Suns are facing the Timberwolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't got a lot of faith in the Suns. I'm not sure if they'll be able to stop the Timberwolves, what they're going to do, how they're going to be able to solve, Edwards. Who are they going to put in front of him to try to stop him? They're going to put Grayson Allen. I mean, decent enough defender, but I don't think
they gave him $70 million. They better.
Yeah.
I mean,
you just want to slow him down a little bit.
Tobias Harris makes what, $40 million, and we ain't talking about him in this series. So just a couple mil they gave to Grayson don't mean nothing. It's all about performance.
Yep. Cat is back, so that'll be
crazy. All these knee injuries coming back, and the shoulders just take you out. That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought? But shoulder it's terrible. My dad had a terrible shoulder for years. He finally got it operated on. He's like a new person.
Who do you think comes out of the West?
I still got the Nuggets. I got the Nuggets. I think it's the Nuggets and Knicks.
Who do they beat to go to the finals? The Nuggets.
Oh, who's going to be in the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you guys, before the Zion injury, I thought the Pelicans had a chance, but it's going to be OKC. It's going to be OKC. I think OKC, because they're going to have the Kings, and then they're going to end up playing the winner of the Clippers Mavs. So those teams are going to beat each other up. If it goes 7 games, which I expect it will, I think OKC.
So based on that bracket, I think many fans will go with whoever the Clipper Mavs series wins, then it's going to go to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, you think most people? Yeah, so I don't think OKC is going to do it.
I don't think the national media is going to give OKC that respect, and I can see why.
King Ja's mom grew up with Bernard King. Oh shit! Shout out to your mom, King Ja, 1985. Oh. My mother grew up with Bernard King in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. That's awesome.
Nice. Shout out
that guy. The guy who put the fear into most players' minds was Bernard King at the time. He was just that kind of guy.
I've seen clips. I wish I would have saw him play, because so many people talk about him, like people that got to see him play. I mean, obviously, I wasn't.
Yeah. You have to watch an entire game, because then you see like what the other teams are trying to do, how they're trying to stop them. It didn't matter.
I'm Sprewell Houston era. I'm not before that. Yeah, I'm just watching YouTube clips and reading articles and doing research. Like this guy Richie Guerin. Who in the world is that?
Yeah, I know.
He's in all the records. He's before all of our times. I'm like, who is this? Every single record, every time I see Jalen Brunson's done this, Richie Guerin right at the top. And I'm like, how come nobody talks about him? And then I looked at the year he played. I'm like, that's probably why.
Yeah.
He was all the way before time.
Clyde mentioned
the world was created.
Clyde talked about him was it 2 or 3 weeks ago? He said he was really instrumental in helping him when he first got into the league.
That's great skills.
Yeah. All right, guys. This has been awesome. This turned out to be the legendary playoff preview that
it's an annual thing now, since we're going to the playoffs every year.
That's right. Now it's an annual thing. Man, I'm hyped. I'm hyped. It's important. It's crucial that we win that first game tomorrow.
Is it a must win?
It's not a must win. It's a crucial win. If we don't win game 1, game 2 is a must win. That's for sure. But I'm expecting the Knicks to come out. I think it'll be tight for a little while, but I think I don't know. I got a feeling these guys. First of all, also these guys had a week off, and unlike Randall, who time off actually dulled his touch, I don't see that happening to guys like Dante and Josh Hart, and I think the rest is going to help them clear their heads, and they're going to be so well prepared for this Sixers team. And that's one of the key Thibs sayings. I forgot exactly how he says it, but preparation, and understanding what you have to do, what you should be doing, and having it be second nature. It's great because you can always fall back on that. And that's one of the things. The Knicks are they don't make as many mistakes. We don't turn over the ball as much as other teams. I think we're fifth, the lowest in the NBA. I think this team is going to be locked and loaded. They're going to be ready. And remember, other than Dante, the key guys all had that experience last season, and they're all back. Bojan has playoff experience. He had a great series, great playoffs for the Utah Jazz in, 21, 22? Whatever, the last season Donovan was there. Yeah, I think that was it. He had an excellent playoffs. OG, he's chomping at the bit to get some play, to make his fame in the playoffs. And we know guys like OG, like the Andre Iguodala's of the world, those guys, they end up winning MVPs because they are dominant on both ends. We're not necessarily dominant on the offensive, but they're dominant defensively, and then whatever they give you offensively is just butter. It's just extra. It's just beautiful. It's gravy. And I think he's going to deliver. He's excited about it, and he has the right kind of demeanor to do it. I don't see Isaiah Hartenstein getting thrown off his game. And I think Thibs, he's going to protect the centers. I think that's a key thing actually for this thing. We touched on it earlier. Don't let Isaiah, once he picks up that second foul, take him out immediately. Don't let him try to work it through and go. Then he picks up the third foul. Then he can't be himself. I think Thibs is going to be managing that situation well. I'm just so excited. I can't wait. Cannot wait for tomorrow. By this time tomorrow, we will be celebrating game 1 victory.
Watching the Laker Nuggets game and then the fight later that night. So tomorrow got the Ryan Garcia fight. So
you going to the fight or you just watching?
No, I'm not going to the fight.
Okay.
No.
Where's that? Where's it at?
It's in Barclays.
Oh.
It's going to be a crazy Saturday in the city. The whole city is on fire tomorrow because of the events, the playoffs, and the Garden's going to be rocking. I can't wait, man. I'm having my volume.
And then right, you said Nuggets Lakers too. Ooh, that's going to be fun.
And I mean, the great thing about a day like tomorrow is because our game is, at 6, you get to get 2 games before that because the games start early. So it's like, and me as a younger version fan, I wake up and, sometimes you can't even sleep. I mean, that's how diehard of a fan I am. I just think about it. I start watching highlights. I amp myself up. And then once the morning gets here, you eat your breakfast, you're pumped up. First thing I'm doing is I'm messaging George, it's game day. And then
he's like, wake the fuck up.
Yeah. At 9 a.m., I'm always saying,
I wake up, there's like 15 text messages. And these two guys going back and forth about something. And I was like, what the hell happened?
At 9 a.m., I'm like, 9:30. I'm like, where the fuck is George? And I forget, at that time it's 6:30 a.m. in California. I keep thinking he's on the East Coast. And then you start to get amped up on game day, waiting for the day to be able to get a game at 1 o'clock Eastern time for you, George, when you wake up. I mean, that's great because it'll help with the waiting. And then here we go.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's like right away, 10 a.m. The first game is 10 a.m.
You got, what is it? What's the schedule? Was it Cleveland? I think Cleveland's up
it's
first.
Cleveland. Yeah, the Cleveland game.
Cleveland.
No, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah, you got Orlando at Cleveland, and then at 3:30 you got Phoenix, Minnesota, and then you have Philly, New York, and then Lakers, Nuggets. Those are the 4 games tomorrow.
Beautiful. I can't wait. I mean, this is my favorite time of year, man. I love the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, because no more BS narratives, no more season narratives.
Now it's
no
put up
more-
or shut up. It's put up
Now
or shut up time. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Can't wait, man. Shout out to the chat. Thank you guys for being with us this whole time, man. It's been a robust discussion. I've been looking at it here and there. Some great stuff. APAP, shout out to your grandfather. He was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's barber when he was Lou Alcindor. He was a kid. Shout out to Lex the Destroyer for holding it down for me here, man. Best mod around. King Ja. James Buckley's in the house now. D-Nice, what's up, brother? Connor Toolin, thanks for the shout out there. Oh, man, great show. Look, we get past, which we expect to. Maybe we can pull this together again for the Bucks or Pacers matchup. I got. All right, I'm not gonna keep going. We're gonna shut it down.
Yeah, because you're going off the rails now.
Yeah, I go off the rails. I get all hyped up.
We're getting the wild George now.
Yeah, man. Hey, Quis, you want to shout out anybody or send tell them what's going on with you?
Shout out John Talento, Lex the Destroyer, Brightest Future. Thank you all for tuning in. Really appreciate the support. Like you said, George, hopefully we'll be able to do this again for the next round. You know, fingers crossed. Don't want to look too far ahead, but like we've all discussed, I think we're pretty confident that we can, emerge from this series victorious. Shout out to JD doing big things over there on Knicks Fan TV. Make sure you guys are tuned in. He'll be headed over there next. And George, I'll be looking forward to your post game recaps for the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah,
it's gonna be a wild one tomorrow.
I can't wait, George. I can't wait for the post game, those playoff recaps.
Oh man, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait, man. Rudy Pooty asks, "Where's Foxy?" Foxy is taking it easy. Foxy's taking it easy. He's writing. He's enjoying his life. He's no longer doing lives.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shout out to Foxy.
Oh, we got Monarch Smart TV. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Here we go. All right. You see anybody else in this tier? You call that John Talento. Cool. Chris Dada. Thank you so much, brother.
Shout out John Talento for sure.
Brightest future. Oh man. All right. Yeah, we had over 200 in the chat at one point. Still going, nice and strong. If you guys haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so and hit the thumbs up button for us and drop your comments and follow Quis on Twitter and JD on Twitter as well. He puts out some great tweets. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter as well. It's just at Knicks-Verse. And also share the video. Share this video. That helps grow the channel. We're up over like 8,500 subscribers now. We want to get to 10,000. I do think if the Knicks keep going further, it's going to get even crazier. It's going to get even crazier. It's going to be so much fun. Look for the post-game recap tomorrow.
Hey, knowing George, all these recaps, some of them may not even be pre-recorded. Because I know how you get, George. Like we get a great game, or you're feeling it, you'll just go live.
Yeah, sometimes I go live. Yeah, I did after I forgot which game, just recently. Yeah, and it's been great. Had a great turnout. So actually, it was after the last Bulls game. That was fun, man.
So make sure you have your notifications turned on to all.
Yes, turn on the notification bell, especially now because it's such a random time of year. All right, man. Lex, thank you so much, brother. All right, thank you guys for showing up. This was a great discussion about the Knicks. We talked about almost everything you can think about with the Knicks. We even talked about Tom Thibodeau's potential contract. Man. And even Elfrid Payton's name popped up. All right, here's one final question. One final question. Do you think Alec Burks will see any minutes in these playoffs?
Oh God. I think with that question, you just want us to stay live till game time tomorrow. Is that what you want to do?
Oh,
if anybody knows me at Knicks Fan TV with CP, oh God, Alec Burks. I'm gonna make it quick.
I feel bad for him. He looks so lost.
You ever been to Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah, there's one in my corner over here.
Yeah, you see the shapes of those donuts. Can you make out the number of that? Can you make out how it looks? That's how many minutes he's gonna get.
There you go. Zero. Yeah, and he doesn't deserve it. And if he is getting minutes, it means we in trouble.
Yep, big trouble. Something went
Yeah.
horribly wrong.
Yeah.
He's so bad that not only does Deuce have to bomb it, I think Bojan has to. I think multiple people in the bench have to bomb it before he gets a look in the playoffs.
Yeah,
I don't even think he
All
plays because of another person's bad performance. Somebody has to be literally unavailable.
Yeah, maybe.
That are garbage minutes.
Yeah, I think Thibs would look at Shake before Burks. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I think it might come down to that. Alec Bricks. All right, people.
What a way to sign off. Alec
There you
Bricks.
go.
All right,
We're
people.
signing off. No. Hey, best of luck to Alec in the offseason. All right, guys. I will see you around tomorrow night. The Knicks-Verse. Let's go, Knicks. Let's win tomorrow. Let's fucking kick the Sixers' ass. Let's go.